Welcome in, Warchant Gameday broadcast live from Hotel Indigo. Rooftop Final One, Senior Day, Florida State and the University of North Alabama. Last home game of the year for the Noles. That's as warm an introduction as we've had all year long.
They started a buzz.
Yeah, the buzz is kicking in now. Hopefully everybody else isn't hearing that. We're just hearing that. But welcome in, everybody, for everybody that's out here on their way or watching at home on Warchant TV. We very much appreciate you joining us. Florida State 10-0 as they take the field today, 8-0 in the ACC. I mentioned at the outset there, University of North Alabama, 3-7, 1-5 in their conference. This is not about the opponent today. This is about the young men that helped transform Florida State football to what we see now, a team that has a chance to win the ACC and go to the college football playoff. You think about these seniors today, Tom, and what they've been through, especially the few that hung around that were recruited by Willie Taggart. And, of course, he gets dismissed after 21 games. They're still here, a few of those guys. They decided to believe in Mike Norvell, and now look at where they are, undefeated with a chance to go to the college football playoff. So we're always appreciative of seniors, whether they're transfers like Jordan Travis is a transfer from Louisville, who currently leads Miami by 7, by the way, in the fourth quarter. And then and all these other guys that we're aware of on the offensive line, or Keon Coleman, who just came in this year, whomever it might be. But there's a special space in your heart, I think, for a lot of these guys who toughed it out through the tough times, lean times for Florida State, losing records, the pandemic, having to believe in a coach as he transitions them into his way of doing things. And there's a few of those guys. We'll mention them today. What a cool experience for them to go from really being obsolete in college football in the ACC to on top of the world right now in college football. Their belief in Mike and their belief in themselves paid off.
It has, and they're seeing it through. You know, so often if you are a transitional player for a program, like a lot of players were for Florida State in 2010, 2011, even that season in 12, there were a couple of guys who left and weren't able to return. You don't get to see it through to the end.
Right.
But in the era of NIL, in the era of the transfer portal, you can see it happen a little bit faster. So the guys who started the process, many of which are from, as you said, Coach Taggart's era from a few years back. That was a tough time for Florida State in its history. They get to see the job through. Most of them do, and that's what today is about. And I will also say very quickly, I'm going to work on that buzz, so you keep going.
Yeah, well, you think about a guy like Hakeem Dent, who was on the field in the Jacksonville State play that happened. Obviously, that was devastating at the time. Felt like Florida State would not get out of the doldrums, would not be able to find, green grass, the high hills, whatever you want to say. It was a tough moment in the program's history. Some said the worst in the program's history. Now, that's a bit melodramatic, but still, it was a bad loss. And then you have guys like Renardo Green, who we never really thought was going to be on the field, was not going to be a starter for this team, maybe a special teams contributor, not a guy you wanted to see start initially, because when he had opportunities, he didn't play well. And now he's your best corner, and he's been very good this season. So you got a lot of guys who've been through an awful lot. Kalen DeLoach at linebacker has been here the whole time, and Kalen DeLoach was a guy that was a little undersized, and you wondered, could he ever come into the size necessary to be an elite linebacker at this level? I would say this. He's maybe not an elite linebacker in college football, but he's a really good linebacker at Florida State, and he's been a really good player for us this year, leads the team in sacks, and has been more than serviceable, which is at the time what we thought he'd be. So guys like that who did see it through, who get honored here tonight, are the reason that this game is a sellout against an FCS opponent. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'll do the cheesy thing that a Bob Costas or a Jim Nance would do at the start of a golf broadcast, but you have the breeze coming right now, and the winds of change for Florida State have happened over the last couple of years, and there are a lot of people who deserve praise for it. The first person I would say is they got it wrong the first time, but the administration, President Thrasher at the time, who decided on Mike Norvell, he was a big player in going and interviewing Mike Norvell and saying this is going to be the fit. Sorry about that last one, guys. Strike one.
Yeah.
But we're going to hit a home run this time. That's where it starts. But then all of the players who listened to Mike Norvell after being failed by 2 different coaching staffs and many coordinators over a short period of time, said, all right, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to ride with you. And that's how it all began. And you saw the process. It took a couple of years to transition that locker room from a place of toxicity and distrust. And you know what? I don't blame the players for that. I don't blame the players for that. They came to Florida State to win championships.
Bitterly disappointed at the time, yeah.
And they were lied to by 2 consecutive head coaches and many position coaches and many recruiting coaches along the way.
Yeah.
And so if they're in a place of toxicity, that's only natural. But it took a little bit of time. Mike Norvell flipped this thing. We were 5-7 2 years ago. We went 10 games last year, and this year we've played 10 and we won them all. And we're going to go 11-0 today with a chance to complete the third undefeated regular season for this program since 2013, which is remarkable.
I think back on it too. I remember Bobby Bowden when I was a student here, and then later on, he always talk about how much it would mean to have an undefeated season. Now you're talking about a chance to have another undefeated season. I mean, obviously we saw what they did in 2013, the undefeated regular season in 2014, and right now they're undefeated here. So this is it's nuts. And of course, there's wire-to-wire in '99. I'm not forgetting these undefeated seasons. I'm just talking about Florida State's been able to pile them up here.
There's a whole lot of nothing in between. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But how many programs since 2013 would have, if we can complete the job over the next 7 days and a few hours?
Yeah.
How many programs would have 3 in the span of that period of time? 3 undefeated regular seasons. It's just amazing and remarkable. And I'm glad it's a sellout for these players, because it is human nature to say after Miami, I don't know if I can get in the car.
Well, and you're going to go up to Charlotte for the ACC championship.
Yes.
It's a holiday week right now coming up. So a lot of people have their kind of vacations or they're visiting families. So I was surprised to see that it was a sellout. It's an FCS foe. It's a game after Miami. We're heading into the week of Thanksgiving. A lot of people will make the trip down to Gainesville, but if not, they'll go to Charlotte. So they're picking and choosing. The fact that they sold this game out is a really good sign, and it's a good testament, I think, a send-off to these kids. I guess tentatively we should announce here, these are the guys that were on the list.
Correct.
Now, they don't always get this right, and because some guys had extra years of eligibility and the COVID situation, you have guys in their 7th year, so they may have already walked and then come back and made a decision. I mean, it's not, a lot of guys. So Alteen is the defensive back you've not heard of, but he's one of those guys that works very, very hard.
Get some reps today.
Get in the game today, we hope. Tatum Bethune, we all know. Dennis Briggs, Jeremiah Byers, Kalen DeLoach, Akeem Dent, Dimitri Emanuel, Braden Fisk, Renardo Green, Jerrion Jones, Fabian Lovett, Casey Roddick. James Rosenberry is the long snapper who's been here for quite some time, and Thomas Schrader, who unfortunately had his career kind of derailed by that devastating knee injury. We had high hopes for Thomas when he came here as a regular starter. We thought that knee injury never really allowed him to fill it, but he fulfilled his role, worked hard, rehabbed, came back to practice, provided needed depth, out there every day, giving it his best. You salute all those guys.
Yeah, one of the names on the list, one of the first you listed, has seen some things here, and Dennis Briggs. You think about that young man's career, and you could talk about the dysfunction as we already have set up, and he's seen a lot of that. The locker rooms here in Florida State have been very different in Dennis Briggs' time.
Yeah.
But he's had to fight through injury from a dirty play against the Louisville Cardinal team that's on the television screen right here to our left, battling with Miami down the stretch. He had to overcome that, come back, and he's been moved from defensive tackle to defensive end to tackle to end, and now he's kind of mostly an interior player for us this year. But he's a bit of a utility. If for some reason you were down a couple of DNs in a game and a couple guys go down with injuries, Dennis Briggs could play out there for you. It's the same thing with Akeem Dent in a certain way, because he was a safety, then a corner, then a safety. I mean, it just going back and forth. Nobody can find a home for you. You're here for 6 years, borderline 7 years, and you go through this whole journey. Today, you are being honored. You get the roses, the photos, all those things before a packed house. What a ride it has been for a player like that.
Well, Akeem, I feel like we got to give extra kudos to him, because I don't think we appreciated what Akeem Dent meant to this defense. He was not a superstar. He's not a guy that was on the tip of everybody's tongue when talking about Florida State secondary. We had in our minds the thought when he committed that he was going to be a superstar. So I would dare say there was a level of disappointment in his career. And then, oddly enough, he gets hurt in the Southern Miss game. It was Southern Miss game. And he pulls a hamstring, and he's out 4 weeks. And all of a sudden, you see the disarray in the secondary that we hadn't seen, and you realize, well, I guess Akeem Dent is very important to this team in terms of getting guys lined up where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, extremely so. I mean, it's like LaMarcus Brutus from not that long ago.
Which was another great story, by the way.
And you didn't realize when he was gone, the next year you go, oh, geez.
We really missed LaMarcus.
Did a lot, It's like, I'm sure everybody out there, you worked for a company at some point. Right. Maybe you were this employee, or maybe a teammate of yours was the employee. And then you leave, or they leave, and you go, oh, man.
We really miss Keith.
I thought Keith did nothing.
I thought Keith was a bum.
He was decidedly the opposite of a bum. Keith did a lot for us.
He got everybody in place.
Akeem, it's a huge difference. And you see it, the confidence that he exudes, the body language, and he talks about the adjustments that need to be made, the alignments. Everybody else is calm. It's like when he's on the field, everybody else feels okay. And that's important because we have some safeties this year that miss tackles left and right. Akeem Dent does a much better job and is very valuable to this team.
Yes, and let's hope he's out there in the biggest game still to come. Obviously next week against Florida, which has a pretty good offense, actually. Not much of a defense, but a pretty good offense. And then, of course, from there you have the ACC championship game against Louisville, and then the college football playoff if it's to be. And let's hope. That's all in our minds right now. It is nice to be able to sit here right now. Game day, Saturday evening. A lot of teams are out there sweating. It's 38-31 right now. Louisville and Miami. Louisville has the lead. Miami has the ball. Van Dyke is at his own 20 throws, complete to the 30. Anyhow,
14 seconds.
14 seconds. We'll see. That game's going to end in a Hail Mary. But the point is, a lot of hotly contested games tonight. That game, you've got the Arizona-Utah game. Arizona is pasting Utah right now. You got Tennessee and Georgia. Tennessee's taking an early lead against Georgia, 7-0. We'll see if that lasts. But
Michigan looks like garbage against Maryland today.
They do, 31-24.
That's
Maryland
two safeties.
And that Maryland team bothers them. Last year, if you recall, I do because I bet on Michigan and they didn't cover. They played Maryland, and they were only up 5 with about 2 minutes to play. So it was a weird game. That team, for whatever, bothers them. But the point would be, you've got a cakewalk tonight. You get to sit back and enjoy your undefeated team, salute the seniors, and have no fear about losing a football game, and really kind of take it all in and get your mind right before the home stretch, before going down to Gainesville to face Florida, and before you can go to Charlotte for the ACC championship.
Yeah, you're right. It's an opportunity to reflect. You know, if your mind wanders a little bit during the game and you're not thinking about the future but the journey to get here, you should take that opportunity. Lord knows there'll be enough media timeouts if you're sitting in the stands to do so, but the weather's gorgeous. It's a tad warm right now, but the breeze is good, and it's only going to get better as the night goes along. The atmosphere here, it's the last game of its kind in a big sense for Doak Campbell
changes,
today. There's going to be some changes on the alumni side, so it'll sound today for the last time like it does until there's a new definition of what Doak sounds like next year. And then a lot of the sounds coming from that stadium are going to be those of construction machines.
Next year is going to be a bit rocky.
Months.
That's going to be weird going to games next year. Appreciate this tonight, guys, because it's going to be a mess. I've been told by everybody. You remember, I don't know if you traveled there at this time. I'm a little bit older than you, as folks know, but remember going over to Atlanta and seeing Florida State take on Georgia Tech when they were renovating their stadiums, and you had the scoreboard hanging from wires? Do you remember? That was nuts.
That I do not.
Yeah, I went to a game there, and they had their scoreboard hanging from these wires. I remember thinking, that can't be safe. Anyhow, I've been in stadiums where they're going through renovation, excuse me, and it's not fun for the fans, obviously, and it's not aesthetically pleasing either. Yeah. Hey, as an aside, can I just do this because we're all college football fans? You want to hear the most Iowa score of all time? They're playing Illinois right now. It's 2-0 Iowa. 2-0 in that football game currently. That is so very much
a couple
Iowa.
Of power play goals.
And it may end that way, 2-0 or 3-2, something like that. That said, we're watching this. Is this the final play? No, 5 seconds left. Miami still has one last gasp as we check in. I think they're at the 50.
Well, that would lock it up, though, of our opponent in
It's
in
kind of locked up already, but it would lock it up. Plus,
yeah.
it would add to the ledger of losses for Miami, and we like to see that any chance we can get, which is that's always
that's an organic round of applause right
like,
there.
Yes, that's right. Just keep adding those losses, and perhaps from there the recruiting class shifts again, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, they're at the 50 for this Hail Mary shot.
Well, here we go. It's illegal.
Break the rules. Do it.
I always break the rules. Miami, obviously, in the shotgun from the 50. It's Van Dyke. 5 seconds to play. 38-31 Louisville. Van Dyke back to pass.
Four-man rush.
Surveying the field. He lets it fly. It's to the moon. The ball is up, and it is caught by Miami on the 5. He's going to be tackled. Holy moly. That got a little weird. Louisville wins 38-31, and that was illegal what I just did. But there you go. We did play-by-play for the final snap of the game.
Fair use. It was one play. How about that, everybody? How about that?
Hey, man alive. I was a little concerned when I had to say caught. Miami falls 38-31.
Director Ben, who's a Louisville alum, is happy.
Is happy right now. Yeah. Dance around your living room there, Ben, as you produce the show. Louisville has won, and we will see you in Charlotte.
Wow.
Yeah, we will see you in Charlotte. It is Florida State, Louisville now.
They're going to be ranked no matter what at this point, too. Well, so they could lose next week, but they'll still be top 20 at that point.
They're not losing to Kentucky. This was the one here. They needed to win this game. So that was a great game. 38-31, Louisville gets the job done. We'll see them in Charlotte. And that's a well-coached team. I've talked about that with Braun before. If you watch them, they're very well-coached.
You had fun doing that play-by-play.
That was fun. That was
like the switch. Yeah, I like that. So Garrett says, let's get one of you and me. We get to call a game. I'm in.
Let's do it. I would do it, yeah. Well, I will say this. You and I have had the opportunity to do watch-alongs before.
Yeah, we have.
And that's a little bit different. That's not as professional.
Not with you.
No, not with me. Some things might get said there that ought not. But, yeah, absolutely. So today I am curious as we actually do assess the game, not to break it down because, again, North Alabama at their level is not even very good, and that's not to disparage them or their league, but you're talking about an FCS team that only has 3 wins. Yeah. This is not the same as when we played Jacksonville State. Like, a lot of people unfairly compare that game and say, hey, be careful. Well, Jacksonville State had a bunch of really talented transfers, if you recall, kids that had played at big programs, and this is not that. This is a team that is much low. Jacksonville State team would have been favored to beat this North Alabama team by like 24.
The thing is, though, and we're not going to harp on this, but when you lose that game, this is the legacy of it. You have to talk about it. You have to in this way and say,
having to come
it's not like that, though, guys. It's not like that.
It isn't like that.
That's where we were. More reflection. That's where we were just a couple of years ago in that stadium, in that setting with a 2-quarterback system. They're both on the field at the same time. Dysfunction, embarrassment, all of it. Yeah. All of it. And now here we are today, number 4 in the country.
Incredibly frustrating to think about from whence we came, but you got to give Florida State a ton of credit and Mike Norvell and these kids a ton of credit. And that's a big part of what this whole broadcast today is about, because we're not breaking down lines of scrimmage for this game. But I will tell you something I want to see. And I think for Florida State, it's getting a lot of these starters off the field very quickly. Yeah. I know that it's a sold-out game, and you kind of owe fans to roll your starters out there. I mean, one of the things that drives me nuts, and I'm glad the NBA fixed the rule, but, we had this rest with the starters incessantly. You had all-star players that would miss a ton of games, 10 games sometimes, as they did load management, right? And that is disappointing because fans buy tickets to come to the game. So I'm going to use that analogy when I talk about this game. Fans buy tickets to come to this game. They want to see Jordan Travis. They want to see Keon Coleman. They want to see all these star players. But the reality is they also want to see a win over Florida. They also want to see a win in the ACC championship. And they also want to see a team who's best prepared and healthy to compete in the college football playoff. And the answer to how you get there is to probably not play a lot of minutes tonight. Let's just put it that way. The snaps have got to be few and far between. After the first quarter, I would imagine most of the starters will have a seat. You give all these kids, walk-ons, backups, an opportunity.
Well, when it's as congested as it consistently is to get through the gates, like, we're not going to hold it against everybody here at Hotel Indigo if you want to go in a little bit early, because the main event is getting in early enough to honor these players as they're greeted by their families at the 50-yard line with Coach Norvell. That's the first thing that you definitely want to be in there for, is that ceremony. That is critical to salute these players, both scholarship and walk-ons alike. And then to see, savor if you're here, if you're like Troy Knoll, who's here from the high country.
Yes, he is.
And you made the big trip down, and this is your game for the season. Savor the first quarter. Savor the first few drives and be there early, because in the second half, maybe even earlier than the second half, it's about the future. It's about the future prospects. It's about the future of the program, and there are a lot of young players that we are going to be so excited to watch in the years to come.
I mentioned it on the Jeff Cameron Show earlier this week.
Where can people catch that?
93.3 FM, 1 to 3 every afternoon, as well as on your podcast, wherever you get podcasts, by the way, and right here on Warchant TV. So lots of places. We're omnipresent. Now, that said, I mentioned that I ran into Blake Nicholson's parents this week when I went out to eat, had a good conversation with his dad and his mom and him, saw him and his brother, and there's one of those stars you're talking about, a future star. I mean, he's played very little this year, but he's, as a true freshman linebacker, he's one of the guys I'm excited to see develop, because he got here, he could diagnose right away, he was a little undersized, he's already put on quite a bit of muscle since arriving. Josh Storms has done a lot of great work with him. A lot of times that happens with kids that come in from a high school to a college. It's a whole different level of nutrition and weightlifting and all of that. And so he's put it on because he's got room to put it on, and he's kept his speed. We saw him in transition covering earlier this year in one of the games, and I remember thinking, that's the first linebacker we've had cover somebody down the field in years.
Wheel route means nothing to Blake Nicholson.
He can run with you, so that was really exciting. And, he's going to play a ton today. Yeah. And I brought that up. He had a smile on his face. But watch that kid today, Blake Nicholson. You'll see him. He's going to be out there a lot, along with the younger guys that haven't had all of their 4 games that they could play without losing their red shirt. You'll see a ton of those guys. And then, if the game gets out of hand, and it will, you're going to see a ton of the walk-ons. And those guys, can you imagine? It'll only be a pipe dream in my mind, because who amongst us who loves Florida State hasn't thought how cool it would be to don the garnet and the gold and run out onto that field at Doe Campbell Stadium, Bobby Bowden Field, and play in a real game? Dude. And if you're a walk-on and you are a backup, like 4th string variety, and you're only out there oftentimes as a tackling dummy, and then you get to wear the uniform today and run out there and play in a game, that can never take that away from you. That is etched in your memory forevermore. And it's awesome, and I get excited for kids like that.
I remember now 13 years ago, my first fall covering the team, and it was the first media day, fan day. Remember, because Jimbo had them at the same time.
Yeah.
So we'd get the media day in the morning, and then they would hop on the bus and go over to the Civic Center.
Yeah, and then they go over
Well,
to
they go and they do pictures.
Yeah,
yes.
do pictures, yes.
So you do interviews, then pictures, and they hop on the bus and they go. So what we would do is from the stadium, University Center D, we would do the interviews, then we walk down the stairs, and we walk out the locker room exit through the tunnel and into the field to see the pictures being
taken. And it was
taken.
really cool.
First time I ever did that. And I walked through that tunnel thinking about watching the games on ABC with Keith Jackson and Brent Musburger on the call.
Out of that tunnel.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm doing this. I am walking through the tunnel that Warwick Dunn walked through. Yeah. Are you pinch me?
Charlie
pinch
Ward,
me.
Peter Warwick,
and
Derek Brooks, Marvin Jones.
It gives a little nerd like me chills, But if you were able to be a walk-on here,
and today you put the helmet on, man. That speaker's on
the
side of your helmet.
We had an intern named Jonathan 10 years ago who was on the national championship team. He got to dress for the game in Pasadena. He had a ring. He brought all the rings over. He didn't have a Scully. He worked his ass off every day in the classroom. He worked his ass off on the field, did not have any money from the university to pay his way. It was about love and love of the sport. If you yearn for yesteryear of the love of the game, you still have it in college with walk-ons, and those are the kids who are going to get on the field in the second half.
They'll play a ton tonight. Some of them are seniors as well, and so that'll be pretty neat to watch and to get their names called as well. And you can only imagine how proud their parents are of those young men making their way through this program and having a chance to suit up tonight and play in a game. Good times. By the way, Tennessee leads Georgia. Get you caught up on the scoreboard. Utah getting crushed right now by Arizona in the second quarter, 28-7.
Wow.
28-7 Arizona. What a job Jed Fish has done at Arizona, huh? They turned that thing around quick. 28-7, they lead that game almost halftime. Georgia trails Tennessee 7-3. They're still in the first quarter. It's early. Yep. They exchange drives. As I noted before, a perfect score for Iowa. They lead Illinois 2-0. Wake Forest, Notre Dame scoreless, 7:30 to play in the first quarter, 10:24 to play in the first quarter. North Carolina and Clemson scoreless as well. That's it. That's all for the top 25. Now, earlier today, Michigan did hold on to beat Maryland. Didn't look good doing it. 31-24, they beat Maryland.
I don't want to hear crap about them anymore.
Well, that's a look-ahead spot there. It was on the road.
So their best win is Penn State.
Yeah, and Penn State's not good.
Right.
Alabama beat Chattanooga, as expected, 66-10. Louisville just knocked off Miami. You heard that riveting last call right here at Hotel Indigo. 38-31, Louisville beat Miami. Rutgers loses to Penn State 27-6. That game was 14-6, 13-6 into the fourth quarter, actually. Ole Miss crushing Louisiana Monroe. Oklahoma escapes on the road against BYU. Cold weather, slick track that was crazy. I don't know if you saw any of that. No. Yeah, they won 31-24. And Tulane is 10-1, folks. Tulane has quietly become a really consistently good program. They're 10-1. They win today 24-8. That's
fantastic logo, fantastic uniforms.
I was just on the campus this summer.
Oh, really?
I took the boys over there. We walked around the Tulane campus, and we were visiting New Orleans, and that's where Tulane is. And it's right next to Loyola, by the way. The two universities touch one another. It's crazy. Huh. You don't see that every day. But that said, it's a cool campus and a cool little stadium. Good for them, by the way. Good for them. Remember Tommy Bowden coached there.
Did he really?
Went undefeated. Had a great year.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go.
Has every Bowden gone undefeated in the regular season? I think they have at some point in their career.
Some point, buddy, yeah.
Terry did, didn't he?
A little Sean King action at quarterback at Tulane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there you go, buddy. There you go.
Man, that takes me in. This is not the show for this, but Monday Night Football, when he flipped it back to Warwick Dunn because he was getting sacked against the Rams.
Yeah,
I was there.
Yeah,
I was there that
I remember screaming from my living room. It was a crazy game and a fun game.
It was a green wave to a Nole for the play.
It was, and now you know. All right, so back to what we think we'll see tonight. Now, I've talked about it a lot, but it's worth addressing here for the crowd for the pregame show. Again, Florida State has been very, very banged up. It's been an onslaught of injuries for this offensive group, primarily only on the offensive side of the ball, with the offensive line, wide receiver. You can really, I think there are a lot of guys that have probably masked injury and gone out there and played through whatever it is. But I know Keon was banged up. Johnny missed time, obviously. We've seen a lot of guys on the offensive line. We haven't really had Robert. I mean, this has been a really weird year for this group. I'm just hoping that, again, you get out of this game, knock on wood, everybody's good to go for Gainesville. But I would think, what do you think, a full quarter, or do they play a half? Jordan Travis, give me Jordan Travis' stat line here in terms of quarters played tonight.
I think 1.5, maybe. I think inside of 5 minutes before halftime, I think is when he goes.
Well, they're going to want to have the moment for him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was a cool moment last week when the fans were chanting his name, and the storyline that is overplayed and is done far too often for my liking. Is that he was booed at one point, and he was, and it gets talked about all the time, like every week. But to have his name chanted at the end of that game last week against Miami, you realized a 180 had been done.
How far he'd come.
How far he'd come, and how much he is embraced and really beloved here. I mean, that's the legacy of this group, is that they became the ones we'll always remember for getting us out of the gutter. Yeah. When you're 3-6 and 5-7 and you can't beat anybody with a pulse, and you're looking at your fellow Noles fans like, what has happened to us? And the scary part when you're down like that is to look around the country, because it's not as if other powerhouse programs hadn't fallen off a cliff, and some of them never came back. See Nebraska. So when you watch a Nebraska or Miami, who's been a useless program for over 20 years. So you think about those kinds of programs that were once dominant that fell off a cliff, and you think, oh man, are we going to be one of those? And luckily, we know the answer is a resounding no. We're undefeated, 10-0, about to be 11-0, number 4 in the country. Yeah, we're in good shape.
It's the symmetry, though, that it was the Miami game. That you could signal the beginning with 4th and 14, that drive in general. It wasn't just about 4th and 14. It was about a big-time throw to get on the other side of the field. 4th and 14 doesn't score, but it gets down to the one who finishes the job on a sneak against Jordan.
Jordan Travis. Yeah.
Right, and that flips everything about his confidence. And that's in a 5-7 campaign, but it was a win over Miami, a game that you were not supposed to win and not favored to win, and you do. And then it launches things. And you go the next year against Miami, 45-3. But it's just these little stepping stones along the way. They've improved as a team. We had improved. And we did just enough last week to get the job done. But, yeah, so often in this sport, the people who have the consequences, the players who have the consequences, good or bad, it could be about bowl bans. Yeah. It could be about eligibility for postseason.
Something the coach does, and then they have to pay the price.
It's never the group. It's never that group of players that reaps that is the one that earned it. Mm-hmm. But in this era for Florida State, in a unique way, the group that has helped reap this reward is the one that is going to be rewarded tonight, by and large. And that's what makes today so cool.
I think Mike will be downright emotional tonight, Mike Norvell. He's a guy that is all about service and also work, right? He wears the shirt all the time that says work. We also know he preaches service. His players have been very much of that mindset. And I love the fact that that's kind of something that gets overlooked because you're winning games, and it's always about winning games. But when you're winning games, you can actually point out, hey, by the way, they're also really cool kids off the field. I mean, when was the last time a Florida State player got in trouble? I'm just saying. It doesn't happen.
Don't you put that on me,
I'm just telling you, that is a group that is locked in. They're all pulling in the same direction. They bought into what Mike talked to them about, sacrificing, service. Really sacrificing for each other is what that's about, too. You got to trust the guy next to you. You got to, especially when you're going through the slog of an off season and you're working out and it's 105 degrees outside and humid. God knows we all know that here in Florida. And, before this season, you really hadn't had anything special happen to you. And now this does happen because you believe, because you work hard, and because you infuse that trust of the guy next to you and all of that.
Well, we talk about this with basketball, and we decry it sometime, where we say that, fan bases in the South sometimes apply a football mentality to basketball. And we say, you can't do that. There's ebbs and flows to a season. You're not going to go perfect. It's not the same thing. The urgency of a win week to week in football is not the same as basketball. Well, I say that because today we should apply a basketball mentality to football a little bit. And what I mean by that is be on the lookout for the start of a drive when the game is in hand to see if Jordan comes out for a play, and then on second down, he is brought to the sideline. That is a very basketball. There's a free throw being shot, and the star player in his senior night is called to the bench, and then the whole crowd can rise to their feet and celebrate the senior that has been there forevermore. It's the substitution thing that you don't see in football typically. That is going to happen tonight. If Mike knows what he's doing and he knows what he's doing.
I would think for Jordan and a couple of guys it would. Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
I think wholesale defensive changes, you might have them walk off the field together as a group of 6 or 7, whatever it is. But be alert to that if you're in the stands tonight, because that's going to be a moment, if you're not careful, it's not typical in football that you're going to miss and you're going to see him walking. What was that about? No, just that is going to be a really cool moment to watch tonight if you're in the stands.
I'll tell you, too, man, I think I never used to think about these things. I think when you're young, you just, there's so many more tomorrows. But when you're my age now and you got kids and you look back and you've seen a lot of these senior days, especially with a group that we really are proud of, it will be emotional in there tonight because these kids are eminently likable. I've said that for a long time. We said that about last year's team. It wasn't just this year. They were a likable bunch last year. They had a whole lot in the tank, man. They were tough. After they lost those 3 games, they could have packed it in. They did not. Went on to win the rest of their games, kind of set up this season that we're watching right now. So not only have they done all those things, and it's their last night walking off that field, it's crazy to think about how quickly that's happened. We talk all the time, Tom, about when was it going to happen. I remember during the 5-7 campaign after that season ended, a lot of the shows we did together was about, well, what's realistic? We're talking about a rebuild. What's realistic? What can you expect to have happen in the next 2 years? And I guarantee you we didn't think we'd be sitting here right now 20-3 in our last 23 games.
No, I'm thankful for the portal today. It's also Thanksgiving week as we approach. This last Saturday before Thanksgiving. The number one thing in sports that I'm thankful for.
Sorry.
What's that?
I did the math wrong, but anyway, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for the portal. I mean, NIL and the portal have helped us get here as quickly as we have gotten here. Because this staff, for better or worse.
Well, they embraced it.
They did, but they are not a recruiting staff, a high school recruiting staff like Jimbo's in 2010 and 2011, where those guys were cold-blooded killers.
Yeah.
I mean, you put a pin on a map in the DMV area or Dade County or Broward County or wherever you wanted, they owned it. They went out there and they got players. This staff was not that. They don't have, decades-long relationships in the state. Mike didn't go that route. He went a different route. And that was going to have some consequences with the pandemic because they were unable to create those face-to-face relationships and the trust bonds. They just weren't there. But thanks to the portal, it helped speed up this process. So now when they are forming these relationships throughout the state of Florida, the trust in the high school system throughout the state and this region, the portal has helped them expedite to say, see what we can do here? So for me, on Thanksgiving week, number one thing is the transfer
portal.
Yes. I love you, transfer portal.
Your mom and dad are going to be like, Tom, it's your turn. I just want to tell you guys how much I love the transfer portal.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll have Jamie tape that. Because if we do that, I'll say that, and then I'll do the real thing after. But I will tape that. They'll be like, what?
Because in my family, we do this on Thanksgiving. We all go around the table and give something we're thankful for, right, as you should. And so it can be touching. Some years have been tough,
Some years
are really tough. I mean, my wife has lost both of her parents, all these things, right? So we have these moments. I think I'm going to steal that from you. This year, I have a kid who's 16 years old, made the basketball team, played his first football season. Another one who played at Montfort. He's getting ready to go to high school. And my wife and I are celebrating 18 years together, soon to be 19. And I'm going to go, guys, I got to tell you, how about that transfer portal? And just see what their look is.
Well, and then
you do it too.
Yeah, if Bryce is game and he's hip to what's going on, I love the Battle's End. I'm thankful for the Battle's End, Dad. My goodness, they do a great job.
Oh, are you enjoying that turkey, son?
Yeah.
Your dad's job pays more now because of the transfer portal.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and that's part of it, too, so that the portal got a lot of the kids here. And the thing I like about our portal guys, for the most part, now, don't get me wrong, I love Braden Fisk and Keon Coleman and some of the guys that are
good
here
players,
this year.
yeah.
We've got a lot of multi-year dudes.
Yeah, you got to know
Fabian Lovett's going to be honored today. He's been here for 8 years. He might as well come here in undergrad.
Yeah.
May as well.
He spent enough time here.
Yeah.
Multiple degrees. Sure.
Trey Benson's been here a while. I mean, a lot of these guys have been here. And they've
Jerry Jones.
Yeah, he is a transfer.
He's been here a long time.
Yeah.
He has been here a long time. Really quick, let's get to some that we missed before. We've got Joel Martino just gave us money. Didn't ask a question. So
must be a nice sticker.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that. James writes, sorry, boys, I would have been here sooner, but was watching Choke Miami lose again. Choke-Amy is what he said, lose again. Yeah, and that was good. And then we have a question about how do we approach today? Run it up, hang 60 on them? or get a big lead, play the young players. Obviously, both would be great, but do we need to make it look ugly? No, you're not going to. You're in a no-win situation here in the sense that you don't get a lot of bonus points or style points because you beat up on an FCS school. Nobody's going to say, look at what Florida State did to North Alabama. The immediate response is it was North Alabama.
Yeah.
So
38-0, 77-3. It doesn't. They won't look at it differently.
Damn bit of difference. Just don't be in a game. Don't be sitting here in the second half tied. But if to me, it's playing the heck out of the young guys. You get as many of those young guys out there on the field as possible, as soon as possible, and you let them play a ton. I mean, get your young linemen out there. Let some of these other running backs. I mean, we know what Trey Benson can do. He doesn't need to be out there long today. We need that guy for the Florida game. We need that guy for the ACC championship. Play these other cats. It's also another way to keep guys invested. And, we talk about Mike has done a very good job of playing a lot of people whenever he can. Because, in the situations where you get a 3-score lead in the second half, you're trying to rotate a ton of guys. I keep looking at that play chart, and I'm saying this reminds me, and I hate to bring this up because it gives them credit, but it reminded me of the way Clemson kind of got their program built. Dabo really insisted on playing a ton of guys as they were coming up. Well, that creates investment, creates opportunity. Kids get a chance to play under the lights. It's a lot different than being at practice.
You go to bed earlier on a Thursday and a Friday if you know that you could be playing on Saturday.
Yeah. And also you get a sense of what it's going to feel like with your adrenaline and everything else. Yeah. So by the time you are called upon to be the guy or a dude for this team, you can handle it a little bit better.
And that's the risk that he took in some games. You're in a key moment, a tie ball game in the second or third quarter, and here comes Gilbert Edmond and Byron Turner off the bench. And you're saying, really? Might want Patrick Payton and Jared Verse to help us get off the field in this situation.
I say that all the time, Tom.
I do too.
Yes, I do.
But if you get away with it and you win all your regular season games, next year when they come in, they're so ready. They're beyond ready for the opportunity. And they will be next year. And I'm not just talking about those two players in particular, but across the board. We've done that at safety. Conrad Hussey will be a better player next year for the amount of reps he's gotten this year. He got hurt, or else this would be even more the case, but Hakeem Williams is somebody who's trusted.
I'm crossing my fingers we get a look at Vendravius Jacobs today, Hakeem Williams today, Destin Hill today. I don't know that we will. We're not allowed to talk about injuries, but those guys have been dealing with lots of injuries. Two of those guys have been dealing with injuries, and so I don't know who we're going to see out there today, but I'm crossing my fingers that it's the young guys because they're really dynamic. It's exciting to watch them play. They'll get a ton of reps. It would be fun to watch. If you do get out there and you see those guys play, God help poor North Alabama because Hakeem Williams probably looks like nobody they've ever seen. There aren't too many of our guys who've seen that.
That's what I'm saying. We haven't seen a whole lot of that either around here.
That is really something to
behold. Could it be that we're entering the golden age of Florida State wide receivers to the NFL? Could we be entering an era that we've never been in before?
It's interesting because for all of the offensive prowess for Florida State over the years, they have not mass-produced a ton of successful NFL wide receivers. We all know the Anquan Boldens of the world. I always take credit for Randy Moss. He was here. But there aren't too many that we can point to that had long, prosperous Pro Bowl-type careers. There's a snapshot in time where you had an invested a couple of guys that ended up having good careers, but there hasn't been much. So, Keon Coleman is good. We're going to get credit for Keon.
And we should.
And we're going to get credit for Keon, and he'll be, first-round pick. I think that there's no doubt that Hakeem Williams, if he continues to...
Johnny's going to have a good career because he's a good teammate all-around wide receiver. He's not a liability. He can block for you. I think that kind of ability...
Yeah, I think he'll stay in the league, but I don't think he's a star. I just think he'll have a good career.
But that gets you a second contract, and you're going to be around for a while if you do the little things like he does. Yeah, Vendravius has a shot. Hakeem for sure. The kids that they're bringing in over the next couple of years.
Destin Hill has a shot too with that speed.
Yeah.
There are so few people who can run like him. Now he's been hurt with that ankle injury, but yeah.
You complete the flip of Jeremiah Smith if they can do that over the next week. Man,
that would be huge.
Now you're churning them out. Now we're doing what we need to do.
Warchant Game Day will continue in just a moment. We are live at Hotel Indigo. You can be here too if you're in town. Swing on by. 7th floor. They've got food here. They got beverages. Like-minded Nole fans all around us, and we're watching a little football on the big screen over to our left as well. Be here until 5:30, then we'll make our way over to the stadium, obviously, for Florida State, North Alabama. So plenty of time to swing on by. Please do. More Warchant Game Day in a moment.
Our head coach has a taste for the finer things in life. Personally, I like to picture him in front of a fireplace, clad in a garnet and gold velvet robe, with a glass of Lagavulin 16 and a Cuban cigar. Rumor has it, Coach has a brand new Bengal tiger rug and a photo of Brian Kelly on his mantle. Now, while Coach has high-powered offensive weapons at his disposal, FSU fans need only one thing to start their game day. That's DeLuna Coffee's Blue Angels Blend. Talk about high-powered. This jet fuel in a cup will have you feeling like you can take down a 500-pound tiger yourself. 2 cups will have you wanting to boost an F-18 for the pregame flyover. Our advice, though, leave the hunt to the professionals. It doesn't mean that you still can't enjoy the finer things in life, just like Coach Mike. Trust me when I tell you, DeLuna Coffee makes for one hell of an espresso martini. Head to DeLunaCoffee.com today to find out more.
The finest football program in the state and rolling into 2023 with a Heisman contender. Stay connected with everything Florida State over at the ultimate Seminole sports source, Warchant.com. Expert insight from 5-star Irish O'Fell, the wit and perspective of FSU Encyclopedia Corey Clark, the latest on FSU recruiting with entrenched reporter Michael Langston, and the most active community of FSU fans anywhere. Warchant.com is part of the On3 network with a national team of reporters and resources that have created industry-leading consensus recruiting ratings, transfer portal rankings, and NIL analytics. Head over to Warchant.com to take advantage of this offer as FSU heads into a 2023 season with sky-high expectations.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This is all the benefits of being a Warchant subscriber, right? If you're watching right now, you can look along with me. You'll see Garnet and Gold, 10% off, special Warchant Days promos each month with exclusive offers for Warchant.com members, priority access and free gear at Warchant events. That's doing some things, right? Got to do it. Ask Warchant anything subscriber-only shows featuring the entire staff, a little Q&A with the entire staff, and coming soon, a new mobile app with improved functionality and less ads. That's really a good thing. Join the largest FSU fan community on the internet, everybody, at warchant.com. It's not close. Let's go. Get it on. Sign up today. Warchant Game Day continues now from Hotel Indigo. We're on the roof. It's nice because there's a cross breeze, and we look over here to our right, and you can see the intramural field starting to fill up with cars as people make their way into the stadium, into the game. Get there early if you're listening to this, as Tom alluded to earlier, because an opportunity to see these seniors off in style and thank them for all that they've done in helping turn this around. Should be a great evening for football. Wish it were a little bit cooler, but it will still be pleasant enough. And you get to see a surefire win, you know that, so you won't go in there nervous. Just take it in and reflect a little bit. I think that's what these senior days are for, and it's a nice one when it's not an intense environment.
Yeah, that takes me back to last week's game and when we were at Corner Pocket. And that Friday night, you guys did the happy hour show on the deck. And remember that they were hanging over the deck. Like, there were dozens and dozens of people out there enjoying the weather. But it was just, if you talk about, like, the happiness factor, that place over there last week was incredibly happy. And for us,
that's a good point.
We still have to focus on the job, and it's a rivalry game, so there's a chance that there could be an issue because rivalry games tend to get a little squirrely. But this week, I feel like the people did last week because everybody was just appreciating to be here. Can you believe it? We're 9-0.
Right.
We got a chance to go 10-0. I can't believe it. Like, that was just the energy, and it was one of my favorite nights for any event that we've ever done at Corner Pocket was last Friday night for that happy hour. And today I'm feeling that the same way. This is a reflection day about where Florida State is, where we've been, an appreciation for everybody from the top down. And I'm glad that they all get this moment because not every football schedule provides you this moment. Florida, for example, is playing Mizzou this weekend.
Yeah,
they don't get a breather. They're worried about bowl eligibility. Maybe we better get it today, boys, because we got Florida State rolling to town next week is what they're thinking. For us, we get a chance to pause between two rivalry games, and I love that. I just love that for these players. It could not have worked out better, and now all you wish for them today is health. Continued health. Get in, do your job, stay healthy, get out of Dodge, and let the people rain applause over you for what you've done. Job well done.
Yeah, good for those kids. I get to reflect on how this sun is kicking my ass while we do the show here as it just beats down on my face the whole time.
Can I present you with some?
That's all right. I just was reflecting on that while you were reflecting on the efforts of those young men.
It's reflecting over
the kind of selfishness I possess.
The brightness factor for the people from our faces, reflecting the sunshine for them. It's beautiful.
You're beaming.
I am.
Oh, there it is. Oh, you can tell it's North Alabama week.
North.
40, I get that. Nobody else does. By the way, do we get to the third-string quarterback tonight?
Oh, I think so.
Brock Glenn get an opportunity to get out there tonight?
Who is the third-string quarterback?
That's the question, right? He's been hurt, but when he got a chance, when we got to the third-string quarterback, the one time this year, it was him.
Yeah. And he took off.
He
took off.
Yeah, made a play, and then he unfortunately
broke his hand.
On that play.
I think he is the one. Yeah, that next year's quarterback battle into spring at the very minimum.
Fierce battle.
Is going to be Tate versus Brock. You got to get Brock in there.
Yeah, by the way, I got a call this week from a national reporter who's doing a story on Florida State, and his question was, is Florida State's starting quarterback after Jordan leaves on the roster currently? And I said, I think they believe so for sure. Yes, absolutely. I think they think that, we both believe it's Brock, but I would not be surprised if Tate starts next year.
I wouldn't either.
But it's going to be a battle. It will be a battle. And that's just a testament how good Brock Glenn is, but it's also, I got to give Tate Rodemaker a lot of credit. It feels like he's been here 46 years. He could be walking right now. He's been here a minute, and he's never really blinked after he had some really poor performances. Then he got his chance against Louisville a year ago. We all remember that, and he was good. And a few times he's come in this year, he's made some nice throws. I just feel like he's comfortable, and I don't know how you couldn't be. He's run this system now for a long time. So that will be tough for Brock to beat out because Tate has great familiarity, and in the passing game, I think in some ways we'll be more efficient with Tate at quarterback next year in the passing game.
And he's not a statue either.
No, he's an athlete.
That's the thing. So if you still have some deficiencies at times or a breakdown, that's going to happen over the course of a season, whether you're good or you're bad in the offensive line. You're going to have breakdowns. He's mobile enough to get out of Dodge there, and he keeps his eyes downfield. I will say this, just in watching practice, Tate makes more mistakes at times than the others. Like, his best is great. His best might be the best that you see on a given day.
On a given day, his best is really, really good.
His worst might be the worst you see on a given day.
Maybe.
But there's a lot of him. Well, recently, you're right. But there are times when you go, Tate, what are you doing? And Mike Norvell coaches him so hard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you talk about, you get a little uncomfortable. You're like, ooh, man, he is.
But he can handle it. He's a coach's son. He's a coach's son, though.
But the paint is peeling off of the walls of the IPF.
I wore headphones for that.
And you saw it on the sidelines.
Verbal undressing a couple years ago.
But as you often correctly point out, when do you get coached hard? When do you get screamed at by a coach?
If you're a player.
Because they know you are. They know you got it in you.
You got to be worried when they're not yelling at you.
Yeah.
That's coaching 101. Like, you don't waste your time on a guy that you know is never going to play for you. Mike spends a lot of time yelling at Tate.
No, I think so. For the best of Brock Glenn from the camps he's been at is his knack to make a play, and you're like, dude, that guy just makes plays. Like, he finds a way. But for Tate, the knack that he has is he makes throws.
Real.
You'll go, good
NFL
Lord,
throws.
that's disgusting, Tate.
NFL throws.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the NFL scouts come here to see somebody else. They watch the 11-on-11, and Tate will drop one of his customary 5-star throws, and they're like, who is that guy?
Well, isn't that guy playing? Yeah. No, he does. He does. Noel of the People writes here on the chat. Yeah, great name. YouTube subscriber a year, now a Warchant subscriber.
Nice.
Thank you, Noel.
Thank you for converting.
Thank you, buddy. Won't be there today to honor Travis and others, but have my tickets for the ACC Championship. Will Warchant have an event in Charlotte? 100%. Yeah, I was talking to Gene about that last week right here out on this deck. We were talking about what we're going to do. He wanted to know, you're going up to Charlotte. I said, of course I'm going up to Charlotte, Gene. You're paying for it. And then and that made him chuckle a little bit, I guess. And then
a little bit.
Yeah. And then we talked about, what do you want me to do? And he was like, well, we're definitely going to host an event. So we will, and I'll be able to tell you guys about that on the show, and we'll post it. And definitely going to have an event.
So
it's going to be exciting to be there.
Yeah, I'll give you a little teaser. The event is going to be in conjunction with the Seminole Club of Charlotte. We've got some artwork worked up and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be promoting it a lot over the next week, but there are plans, and it's going to be Friday. The night before, there's going to be an event. Pac-12 game will be on, but it's a gathering for all Noles to, again, celebrate the season. But, yes, it's going to be in conjunction with the Charlotte Seminole Club. So if you've already seen some events that they've put out there, chances are that's one and the same with what we're going to be doing up there. So, yeah, it'll be a good time.
That'll be cool, and it'll be nice for us to be able, along with all the other Seminoles, to walk into that stadium to see a championship game. I mean, it's been since 2014 since we were in Charlotte for an ACC championship game. It seems impossible that that's true, but it is. And so, go celebrate along with everybody else. Good food there in Charlotte. Florida State fans will easily travel. It's a short jaunt.
Yeah,
that'll be well attended. I get so far ahead of myself right now thinking about postseason football. It's been a minute where we could be really excited, but you get that game, and then if you win it, you're off to the college football playoff. So
that is
a lot.
It's one of the great days in sports. That weekend, actually, the 2 days. But it's one of the great days in sports is Championship Saturday because, there's usually at least 2 of the 4 championship games in the Power 5. And I know it's getting whittled down as we go here into smaller conferences. But you got the Big 12 at noon, and that likely has playoff implications if Texas wants to stay in the hunt or if they're maybe in because there's an upset or 2 that occurs between now and that day, as long as they only have the 1 loss. The SEC in the middle of the day, Alabama is playing for their playoff hopes against Georgia. That's going to be a knockdown dragout. Mm-hmm. It might be that Alabama wins and both of them are out. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot on the line in the middle of that day. And then I am certain that the stadium in Charlotte has Wi-Fi that is reasonable. It's a professional stadium. It does. So you can be checking in on the Big Ten championship game at that point, which you're just hoping that Iowa holds the opponent to 13 points and maybe it's 13-7 in the fourth quarter. But between those games and then the Pac-12 game on a Friday night when we all get together for the Warchant party, that is an awesome weekend, and now we're a part of it again for the first time in 9 years.
It's been too long, and here's the thing. We're about to be part of that game a lot, and that's why you're beaming as you go into that stadium.
You mean the SEC
today.
championship game?
The ACC championship game, unfortunately, will be part of that game a lot. Now, I will say, I get asked this question all the time, does Florida State getting back to their winning ways equal us getting out of this conference any sooner? I don't know the answer to that. This is really about the 2 television networks and their war. It's Fox and ESPN. Who makes a move? The next big slate of shift within the conferences, we don't know, but it'll be the off season. And we'll see if somebody flinches. Because if the Big Ten makes a serious push to go after a Florida State or a Clemson, both, maybe Miami, or a North Carolina, whatever it might be, does the SEC feel the need to immediately get involved? That would be ESPN. So it's less about the Big Ten and the SEC and more about Fox and ESPN. Who makes the move to facilitate all that? I don't know. Florida State, it can only do what it's done so far, which is announce its desire to leave or to be paid equally and then win a lot of games. And they've done their part of winning a lot of games. And now, again, the brand shines bright. So I think that is huge. That's all you can do is put yourself in the best position to get claimed.
Well, and it would be a jaw-on-the-floor moment if that happened next year. I mean, their schedules are already finalized for everybody, all the conferences. So next year, this schedule that we have, which is weird and cool, we talked about that.
It's a really cool schedule next year. We start by going to Dublin and beating Georgia Tech.
There it is. And there's a open rumor, and I see the Boston College is still on the schedule, that would be the following Labor Day Monday, I think. That was before the new teams, the 3 teams that entered into the fray. It was an open secret that on Monday night, following the Dublin trip, we would play Boston College here at home. We'll see if that continues. But you've got North Carolina coming to town. You've got Clemson coming to town.
Florida coming to town.
Yeah, you've got Cal. That's just weird.
You got Cal. You can go to Dallas-Fort Worth and watch us play SMU. You've got the game against Notre Dame.
At Notre Dame, the dump of the town.
You've got an amazing stretch of football for next year, and you're going to be good again. Now, you may not be this kind of special, but you'll be good again.
And there's 12 places at the table. That's the other thing.
You just got to go 10-2 and be in that ACC championship game, win the conference, and you're in, man. You're going. And I think it was a time where we went into this season and we talked so much about they better win this year. They have to win this year. It's all set up for them to win this year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know that that's true anymore. I think, yes, it would be nice to win this year, and we are undefeated, and we're in position, so you might as well go ahead and kick down the door and go ahead and give yourself a shot at it, of course. But the thought that we had when we said all of that was that this year we're referencing was going to be a rebuild. I don't believe that. I don't think it'll be a rebuild. I think Florida State will be good again next year.
Yeah.
They've got holes to fill, and they've got the number 3 recruiting class in the country. Not all those kids will come in right away and make a difference, but they have been adept in the transfer portal. They got to go get 4 or 5 guys, and they'll be all right.
Well, let's bring it back to today and the list of names that you read, people who are going to be honored there at midfield. There are 3 names that I don't see on that list. Now, it's not perfect in terms of if they're not on the list, they're not coming back or whatever it is. But I don't see Maurice Smith, I don't see Darius Washington, and I don't see Robert Scott. Now, at least 2 of those guys can start for you next year on the offensive line. So if you're talking about trying to prevent a drop-off, the fact that you don't have Darius Washington and Maurice Smith going to the 50-yard line, getting the roses, taking photos with Norvell and families tells me there is a very good chance that they'll be back next year, and you would need them next year in a big way.
Well, and I will tell you this, too. If Robert Scott could ever get healthy, he is your best tackle.
Oh, it was night and day in camp when he came back, right?
He's just not been healthy, and I hate it for the young man because that's a player that can play in the league.
Yep.
But he has not been healthy, and I think, frankly, they're going to probably end up shutting him down for this year. I don't think he's going to get in.
Certainly not today.
Well, there would be no reason to play him today. That'd be dumb. I'd be angry. But you
could take a shot in the playoff, but the thing is, those are live game reps, and you haven't played in months.
No, if he hasn't played by the time we get to no, you got to play him if he can play, you got to play him maybe in the ACC championship game. I mean, you got to see if he can play. I mean, at this point. But bottom line is, yes, you could have 3 of your better end starters on the offensive line back. You've got some young guys that you really like who are going to be kicking down the door to get in there and play for you next year.
Well, worst case, their insurance policies. Worst case, their starters, I should say. Best case, their insurance policies because the younger guys have elevated. But this takes the stress off of that situation in a big way. And
I think, Tom, when we're talking about how many, we're so accustomed to going into the portal every year, and we've become, portal U, if you will, and everybody talks about that, and that's fine. It's good. It's within the rules, and we've done great things.
Wins don't count for less, do they?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. But here's what I would ask. If you're involved with a top 3 class, which we are, could go as high as number 2 if some things break our way. All right, so you've got an elite class coming in. You're going to take in 25 guys, right? Maybe more. Okay. Stands to reason those guys didn't say yes to Florida State solely because they love Florida State. They know they have some opportunities within the name, image, likeness arena, which means that the battle's end will be called upon to ensure that this elite class is intact, gets here, and is set up to do good things. That's less money for you, potentially, to go out and get guys that aren't here currently because you're paying high school kids. So you probably, in my estimation, and we'll see, but I'm guessing.
Well, as the unofficial budget director of the Battle's End, yes. Well, what is your estimation?
Okay, my estimation, sir, is somewhere between 5 to 7 guys at most.
Out of the portal?
Out of the portal.
We can work with that.
That's the most that you could hope for. So it's probably more like 5. Probably more like 5, especially if you happen to be in on an elite player. And so just know that. And oh, by the way, if you are able to get the number 1 recruit in the country.
Might be 3. Or 3 to 5.
It could change. It could change your math. So, and that number 1 recruit in the country is a distinct possibility. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see if we get that announcement or not. I know you're getting. I know.
We're not quite to Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football yet, but we're getting.
Well, if the ball gets pulled on Tuesday or Wednesday this week, then I'll probably stop talking about it. But as of right now, Tuesday or Wednesday, we may get that incredible news that the number 1 receiver and number 1 player in the country rescinds his commitment to Ohio State and instead turns to Florida State to play his college football. It could happen.
If we do, the wait for signing day and just getting it official will be interminable.
Oh, yeah.
Because this
Ohio
year
State won't back down.
It's the 20th. It's going to take it's usually the 15th.
I know.
And there is a Wednesday the 13th. Sounds great to me. If we let's just make it that day. Let's move it up a week. Waiting till the 20th is going to be interminable because even if that flip were to happen, old Brian Hartline, who's always on social media and his feelings, yes, will not let that stand, at least in his own mind. But we can still turn him away. It's just going to be a long game of keep away for a month.
It'll be a battle. That's a tough one there. I am curious. Ryan asked the question, does Darrell Jackson come back next year? I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows. There's a couple things about Darrell Jackson. First of all, he could be your very best defensive lineman that obviously hasn't played. He's not allowed to play. He's at practice every day, but he's not allowed to play. And he is not eligible. We got asked in the chat, was he eligible to play in the ACC championship game? He is not. He's not eligible to play in the ACC championship game.
I think if it was 1 week later, he might have been. Yeah.
Yes, when the calendar flips to the new year, he can play.
Yeah.
So that means he
New
could
semester,
play
yeah.
in the playoffs. So at most 2 games. That would be NFL linemen that he's going up against. Those are offensive linemen from Michigan or Georgia or Ohio State or Alabama or whomever's there. These are going to be the studs that are getting drafted high. If Darryl plays, we would A, need him.
Yeah.
B, if he plays and plays lights out, that might be enough tape for him to ride. I mean, the measurables are insane with this guy. He's 6'5", 335 pounds with good feet. He can move. So if he plays well in 2 games against soon-to-be pro offensive linemen, that might be all the tape he needs to say, I'm out, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And listen, people know about him. They know who he is. They know what he looks like. He would kill it at the combine. I also, from what I can tell, he doesn't love school. So, I think...
Well, what's his goal? Is his goal to be...
Well, his goal is to go play in the NFL.
Yes, but there are different
And
degrees
get
of that.
paid.
Yes. Well, that can happen here too now. But the question is your goal to be drafted 90th overall, 60th overall? Like, he's going to have 25 reps in that first game, 30 reps probably at most. One would think. I don't think he's rolling out there for 45, 50 reps. So those would have to be the most amazing, hellacious reps to get into the top 40 of the NFL draft. Is he content with 70? Is he content with 90? Top 3 rounds.
Yeah, I don't think he's fallen beyond the 3rd round. I mean, he's a first or second round.
You're talking about commanding money. You can get paid to wait just a little bit longer, and you can say this out in the open now. What a wild time we live in. But you can get paid to hang out a little bit longer and go from 82nd to 12th. And that is a humongous difference in earning potential.
Oh, I don't disagree. I'm with you on
That's
that.
the pitch. Maybe I'm the pitch man, and you're the unofficial budget director.
You go pitch him because I don't.
I'm the director of retention pitches.
I think if my man can go pro and start the clock on that second contract, he's going to do it. I think he's going to ride out. I don't think school is his cup of tea. But yeah, hey, listen, I don't know. Does
you know what? We can sign you up for Cup of Tea 101.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. 3 credits.
By the way, Tom, well done. Not you, although you do a good job too.
Yeah.
This guy in the chat, are you broadcasting from Wrigley Field? With the ivy behind us. Yeah, well done. I would. Golly, it is a huge difference if you get Darryl Jackson back or not. I mean, it changes what you do in the offseason.
Farmer, Jackson, Peyton, if they come back, no, it's playoff or bust again.
Well, easy.
It's 12 teams.
Yeah, but you got to have depth there. You got to have. It's not just those guys. But yes, it would be a very big deal. And then I think, if you're talking about the portal, I think you're talking about a linebacker. I think you're probably talking about a defensive end, probably, and I think you're talking about an offensive lineman for sure.
Yes,
for sure. Like a can't miss, badass insert, dominant guard
linebacker,
or center. Yes,
I'd say I'd want 3 of linebacker, defensive end players. 3. I don't care what's 2 and what's 1, but I would like 3 of those. Mm-hmm. Preferably 2 linebackers if you can do, but if not, no big deal.
Yeah.
I think you've got enough in the interior if you bring Farmer and Jackson back. There's enough young kids that are going to rise up and play well. And then O-line, 100%. But you're good at tight end, you're good at running back. Receiver will be fine if you flip Jeremiah. I mean, yeah.
Your receiver's going to be fine either way.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But you're going to go.
But yeah, if your receiver room is Destin Hill, Hakeem Williams, and did we skip Vintravious Jacobs? Mm-hmm. That's a good room.
Yes.
And Portier will be back for year 20.
I don't think Goldie's a bad player either.
No, they like him. Goldie Warren.
Actually, this is a player you're going to see today is Goldie.
Yeah, you would think. They do like him a lot. Yeah, so opportunities abound. Absolutely. All right, we're into the second hour of Warchant Game Day. We'll step aside for a few minutes.
Sunblock on my face.
Yeah, keep from burning and take a quick break and come on back with more Warchant Game Day from Hotel Indigo in just a moment.
Our head coach has a taste for the finer things in life. Personally, I like to picture him in front of a fireplace, clad in a garnet and gold velvet robe, with a glass of Lagavulin 16 and a Cuban cigar. Rumor has it, Coach has a brand new Bengal tiger rug and a photo of Brian Kelly on his mantle. Now, while Coach has high-powered offensive weapons at his disposal, FSU fans need only one thing to start their game day. That's DeLuna Coffee's Blue Angels Blend. Talk about high-powered. This jet fuel in a cup will have you feeling like you can take down a 500-pound tiger yourself. 2 cups will have you wanting to boost an F-18 for the pregame flyover. Our advice, though, leave the hunt to the professionals. It doesn't mean that you still can't enjoy the finer things in life, just like Coach Mike. Trust me when I tell you, DeLuna Coffee makes for one hell of an espresso martini. Head to DeLunaCoffee.com today to find out more.
The finest football program in the state and rolling into 2023 with a Heisman contender. Stay connected with everything Florida State over at the ultimate Seminole sports source, Warchant.com. Expert insight from five-star Irish O'Fell, the wit and perspective of FSU Encyclopedia Corey Clark, the latest on FSU recruiting with entrenched reporter Michael Langston, and the most active community of FSU fans anywhere. Warchant.com is part of the On3 network with a national team of reporters and resources that have created industry-leading consensus recruiting ratings, transfer portal rankings, and NIL analytics. Head over to Warchant.com to take advantage of this offer as FSU heads into a 2023 season with sky-high expectations.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This is all the benefits of being a Warchant subscriber, right? If you're watching right now, you can look along with me. You'll see Garnet and Gold, 10% off, special Warchant Days promos each month with exclusive offers for Warchant.com members, priority access and free gear at Warchant events. That's doing some things, right? Got to do it. Ask Warchant anything subscriber-only shows featuring the entire staff, a little Q&A with the entire staff, and coming soon, a new mobile app with improved functionality and less ads. That's really a good thing. Join the largest FSU fan community on the internet, everybody, at warchant.com. It's not close. Let's go. Get it on. Sign up today. Warchant Game Day rolling on here from Hotel Indigo. Tonight's game 6:30 against North Alabama. Did you know before you looked this week what their motto was, what their team name was?
The mascot?
Yeah.
No.
They're the Lions.
Lions? Okay. I wouldn't have known even today. So.
Now you think back to when these teams were born, right? The origins of these programs. Who the hell in Alabama said we should be the Lions? There's no Lions in Alabama. Why in the world would you do that? It drives me nuts.
None in Detroit either.
There's none in Detroit either.
None at Leon High?
No. It drives me nuts. Like, stop, guys. That was so unoriginal. Anyhow, there are the Alabama Lions, North Alabama Lions.
Be the Swamp Beasts, you know?
That's a good name.
Yeah.
You could have cool shirts with the Swamp Beasts. Yeah,
Swamp
absolutely. Beasts. Not the stupid Lions. I mean, good Lord. It's ridiculous. By the way, Florida State is the only team in the ACC and one of 6 nationally ranked in the top 15 in both scoring offense and scoring defense. The Noles are also the only team in the ACC and one of 4 in the country ranked in the top 25 in both passing offense and passing defense. I thought that stat of the notes that they give, and they give copious notes. As I was going through all of that, I thought, pretty interesting. That's impressive. Now, I mean, these are some antiquated statistics, some of them.
Sure.
But, you know, generally speaking, if you're in the top 25 in all the things, you're pretty good.
I mean, that's one of the principal reasons that the committee has Florida State still in the picture, even though Washington is piling up wins over ranked teams, and they have a better resume in terms of the best wins, look better on paper than ours. But we're more balanced. Their offense is top 10 in the country in efficiency, but their defense is outside the top 30 entering today. Ours is top 20 in both, top 15 in both in a lot of different metrics. So, yeah, we're one of the more balanced teams in the country. And, frankly, it's fun how the conversation has changed. This is why you watch the games and the talking points develop. This offense, as we've been through 10 games now, is not as explosive as we thought it was going to be.
No.
And we were worried that the defense wouldn't be up to the challenge. The defense has been up to the challenge. And you could say that we played a bunch of bad offenses in a row, and you'd be right about that.
Yeah, we have.
But we've also done to Jaden Daniels what no one else has done to Jaden Daniels.
That is correct.
This year. Not even Alabama.
That is where you hang your
We
hat.
beat them worse than Alabama did. And nobody talks about that when they're comparing resumes right now between would a one-loss Alabama. No, man. If you look at what we did to that quarterback that nobody can stop, we held him to fewer output in terms of points and total yardage than Alabama did just a couple of weeks ago. So this defense has been better than we expected it to be preseason. The offense has not been as good, but the offense has been plenty good, and that's where we achieved this balance that we're talking about. We're not a top 5 offense, but we're top 20. We're not a top 50 defense. We're a top 20 defense. So that's where we are.
I also am very impressed by our red zone defense, which really makes up a big part of this statistical edge that Florida State has and why they're ranked where they are. If you look at the 21st nationally in red zone defense, allowing points on just 75% of the opponent's drives that reach the 20-yard line or better. It's a rate of 44.8% of red zone drives faced that result in a touchdown. That's 12th best in the country. So they've been very good there. They faced 55 plays inside their own 10-yard line this year and just 13 touchdowns. 55 plays inside the 10, teams have only scored 13 touchdowns. Wow. So that's really, really impressive. We know what they did in that famed LSU game and how well they made the stops there early that gave you an opportunity to kind of gather yourself and get yourself back.
And that's because of the good on good they do. There's a ton of 11 on 11 in camp where it's a situation like that. It's short yardage. There are times that we criticize maybe the layout of practice and for this reason or that reason. Everybody decries that nobody tackles anymore. That's every program. It's not just Florida State.
No, they don't practice it.
But I don't think it's a coincidence, given how much we work on short yardage and gotta have it plays and from the goal line or fourth down plays, that we're really good defensively in that situation. We are more than prepared in game one of the season for those moments because we do it every day, it feels like.
I didn't know this stat, but the numbers that you need to know, numbers that they threw out there at the beginning of the week, Florida State's 5 turnovers are the fewest in this league, but it's also the second lowest nationally.
Yeah.
We don't turn it over. Knock on wood, I know, buddy, but I mean, good Lord. It's crazy. That I didn't know they had the second fewest turnovers in the country.
That's the thing that's saving us on offense is, if you're looking at Jordan's breakdown, I did something for the site this week at warchant.com, looking at everything on the offense. And Jordan, there was a mini breakdown within there. He is much less inefficient down the field this season. Accuracy is down, yards per attempt, rating, touchdowns, all of that stuff. Oddly enough, with Keon Coleman and Jaheim Bell as parts of this offense, and you could throw Kyle Morlock in there too if you want, 20-yard shot plays are worse this year by a lot than they were last year. And a lot of that is Jordan is not as accurate downfield. I think a lot of that too is most defenses, not named Clemson and Pitt, in the situation where we have injuries, are saying, you're not beating us over the top. You got to put these drives together. But what helps balance out that inefficiency relative to last year is that, he's not throwing picks. There are a couple of ones that we got away with, but by and large, his percentage of turnover-worthy throws is the same as last year. So that's a good thing. Turning over the ball in situations like last week against Miami, we probably could have lost that game if we turned it over twice. The Pitt game could have gotten a lot more dicey if it was more than just the fumble on the first drive. It's just that helps you. That helps you calm things down if you can expect that you're not going to be Tyler Van Dyke for Miami and throwing picks left and right.
Let me do this for Jordan because obviously he's one of those special seniors tonight. Has been in college football a long time. He's a redshirt senior. He's 24 years old. Yeah. I mean, this is it, right? Last hurrah. That's the big. But these numbers are insane for him, and we were honoring all of the players, and we talked about them in the first hour. But Jordan, obviously, the most high profile and the one most responsible for this turnaround. FSU career ranks for Jordan Travis as he lines up on senior night here. Number 1, touchdown responsibility, 97. Total offense, QB rushing yards, QB rushing TDs. He's number 1 in all of those categories. Number 2 in passing touchdowns. He's tied currently with Jameis Winston, so he's going to pass him. Passing yards, he is second. He is 1,217 behind Chris Winkie. Don't think not going to.
You go the distance, he'll get there.
Maybe.
But you got to go the distance.
He's going to have to win the whole thing. Yeah, probably wouldn't get there. But he's going to pass Drew Weatherford to be number 2 all time in completions. Drew's number 2 at 631 completions.
Really?
That's stunning.
Okay. That's what got him on the board.
Doesn't make any sense. He is third in completion percentage, 62.5%. He's 3.5% behind Jameis Winston. Third in wins, 27, 1 behind Chris Ricks. He is 4 in rushing touchdowns, 6 behind number 3, Warwick Dunn. In the ACC, he's number 7 all time with quarterback rushing touchdowns. He is 4 behind being in a 3-way tie for 4th. So he'll jump up and it's crazy. He is top 10 in touchdown responsibility all time in the ACC. He's number 11 in the ACC all time in passing efficiency. He's number 12 in rushing yards all time from the quarterback position in the ACC. He's number 14 in total offensive yards, which is 10,627 yards. He's about to move to 13 tonight. He just needs 13 yards to move into the top 13.
You know what's wild about that with the quarterback rushing stats? You want to take a guess how many 100-yard rushing games he's had the last 2 seasons?
Not many.
One.
I was going to say not many. Yeah.
One.
Yeah. He doesn't. Yeah. No, well, he doesn't run the roll this year.
That tells you how much work he was doing 2 years ago.
Oh, he was
when that's
running.
all we had. I think he had 4 that year.
Hell, I thought he ran for that many and then some against Florida last year in the second half. He was crazy.
That might have been the game.
He was phenomenal. 2023 ACC ranks he's either 1, 2, or 3 in all these categories. Fewest interceptions, number 1. Passing yards per game, he's number 2. He's 19th nationally, by the way, in passing yards per game. I don't know that people realize that. Passing efficiency, he's number 2. Points responsible for per game, he's 15th nationally, number 3 in the ACC. Total offense, number 3 in the ACC, 21st nationally. Passing touchdowns, he's in the top 25 nationally. He's number 3 in the ACC. Yards per pass attempt, he's number 3 in the ACC. He's 27th nationally. Yards per completion, number 3 in the ACC, top 30 nationally. And finally, completions per game, he's 29th in the nation, number 3 in the ACC. And he is a finalist for all of the awards, whether that's the Maxwell, the Davey O'Brien. I mean, hell, there's the Jason Witten Man of the Year. Did you even know that existed? He's in that, yeah.
Witten?
Yeah, he's in that.
Okay.
The Johnny Unitas Award, though, he's on that. The Davey O'Brien Award. I forgot how many awards there were for quarterbacks. The Maxwell Award, he's on the list for everyone, top 3.
All right, so you mentioned Jason Witten just for a moment.
He came to practice.
I didn't realize. That's right, he did.
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
He's a big dude.
How, I knew he was really good for a long time as a tight end in the league.
Phenomenal.
Don't get me wrong. I know that, but he wasn't talked about in terms of productivity like Tony Gonzalez or even Antonio Gates of his time.
Yeah.
And then certainly now with Kelsey and Gronk, and he was contemporary. He's top 15 all time in receiving yards, period.
Yeah.
In NFL history.
He played forever.
Man, that's unbelievable.
He played forever. And for 10 of those years, he was uber productive.
Yeah.
So, just very quietly going about his business. That guy was a very good football player and an awful broadcaster. Maybe the worst broadcaster.
The polar opposites.
Yeah.
You have one thing, you can't have everything.
I remember, I was thinking for the longest time, I thought Eric Dickerson probably led the way as the worst former all-world player to do some announcing. He was a sideline reporter for Monday Night Football.
He was?
Yeah. Oh, buddy, be glad you were too young to watch. It was a nightmare. He was awful. And I thought for years, nobody's going to pass that. He is the worst I've ever seen at doing anything. And Witten, in his 1 year there in the Monday Night booth, was good God.
They struggled at Monday night. They were like our football program for a period of time. They were searching in the dark, and they're like, how are we going to get out of this
They
thing?
had Booger on a crane
That's
in the end
best.
zone. They
He's
had,
just
it was, what the hell were they
He's like,
doing?
well, watch what's happening. Whoa, on this play, because the chair keeps moving on him.
Back to you, Jason. What?
That's
What?
like,
This is not
was
good.
it Paul McGuire?
Oh,
they put
yeah.
in the cherry picker?
He was at the end of his career. They're like, Paul, we're putting you in the cherry picker. He was already embittered. This sucks. Back to you, Al. He was so mad. Yeah, that was with Dan. Oh, my God. That was Deerdorf.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Dan
hey,
Deerdorf.
we're going back
It
a
feels
long
apropos
ways.
we're talking about broadcasting on a day that the game, for those of you out there that can't make it today, is on the CW. After probably Dawson's Creek reruns from 1999.
He is on the it is on the CW.
It's on the CW.
Yeah, it is definitely on the CW. I had a bunch of people ask this week, where is the CW? Like I watch the CW.
Well,
Just type it in, man. Just type it in.
That's what Commissioner Phillips asked at the ACC kickoff.
Oh, that was
Where are
the
my
best.
friends from the CW?
No, he said,
Dennis
I would
Miller.
like to introduce Dennis from our friends at the CW.
Yeah.
And then he didn't know that Dennis wasn't there. And so he looked like a fool, like he usually does. And he's standing up there, and he's like, Dennis, are you out there? And we're all just staring at the commissioner of the ACC. And I guess Dennis is running a little late. And I thought, you dumbass, you can't do that unless you know the man is here.
He was at Comic-Con with James Vanderbeek. Make sure that he was signing Dawson's Creek autographs.
That was the best.
Yeah.
Dennis, are you there? He's
No?
not there. Jim, he's not here. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Okay, back to lacrosse.
Get back to volleyball, would you? Let's go. Let's hear about how great the ACC is in this. So Duke and Virginia are playing on the CW right now.
Oh, really?
It's a star-studded day on the CW.
Was it 6-6? What do we got?
I don't know, but it's 17-7. Georgia leading Tennessee. They've gained control of this game in the second quarter.
Looks like they're moving the
and
ball
they're about
again
to score
to-
again,
yeah,
and
yep.
then the rout will be on. That'll be the end of that. We will give you some college football scores. Let's do it right now. In fact, before we take a break, Elsewhere in the top 25, Arizona still leads Utah 28-10. That game is in the third quarter. Georgia, as I just mentioned, up in Knoxville 17-7 at Neyland. 10-9, Illinois leads Iowa 10-9 now in the second quarter. This is a scoring bonanza at halftime.
Somebody in the crowd here has the mortgage on that game. Got to be careful.
Notre Dame leads Wake Forest 14-7. Clemson and North Carolina are all tied at 7. Tidbit from this game, North Carolina was up 7-0, had like a 65-yard run. Kid got stripped on the goal line for a touchback.
Good Lord.
I've seen more of those plays this year, and that ridiculous rule, by the way.
No, well, Clemson this year has been around more goal line fumbles than any team going both ways.
Yeah, 7-7 in that football game. Ohio State comfortably ahead of sorry-ass row the boat, 10-0 there. They lead Minnesota. Oregon leads Arizona State 21-0.
That's a Mike Norvell tree game right there.
Yeah, that's also a game where poor Kenny had to go into that stadium, realize we got zero chance to make this remotely
There isn't
competitive.
enough bamboo
in
for the moment.
No, nothing's going to save him. That may end up 60-0. That's going to be hideous. Oklahoma State trailing Houston 14-3. Of course they are. And I may have something in that game. Michigan 31-24 today. I mentioned that. Alabama won easily. Miami lost. I'll repeat, Miami lost 38-31. Beautiful thing.
You should hear the play-by-play of the final
You
throw.
can if you watch this broadcast and go back.
Yeah.
You can see it. By the way, did you know that Louisville outscored Miami in the fourth quarter 15-3 to get that 7-point win? So there's a little bit of pain.
Yeah, Miami did show up today.
Miami thought they were going to win.
They just weren't enough.
Yeah, 27-6 Penn State beats Rutgers. Ole Miss 35-3 over Louisiana Monroe. BYU falls to Oklahoma, as they should. They were an underdog, 31-24 there. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, Tulane knocked off Florida Atlantic 24-8. So that is your top 25 scoreboard. Keep you updated as we get closer and closer to kickoff. Obviously, we'll be with you here for about another 45 minutes, 30 minutes. I think it's what we got.
Yep.
On Warchant Game Day, live from Hotel Indigo. Come on by if you're in town. Beautiful weather, perfect setting for a football game tonight on Senior Day. Back for more in a moment.
Our head coach has a taste for the finer things in life. Personally, I like to picture him in front of a fireplace, clad in a garnet and gold velvet robe, with a glass of Lagavulin 16 and a Cuban cigar. Rumor has it, Coach has a brand new Bengal tiger rug and a photo of Brian Kelly on his mantle. Now, while Coach has high-powered offensive weapons at his disposal, FSU fans need only one thing to start their game day. That's DeLuna Coffee's Blue Angels Blend. Talk about high-powered. This jet fuel in a cup will have you feeling like you can take down a 500-pound tiger yourself. 2 cups will have you wanting to boost an F-18 for the pregame flyover. Our advice, though, leave the hunt to the professionals. It doesn't mean that you still can't enjoy the finer things in life, just like Coach Mike. Trust me when I tell you, DeLuna Coffee makes for one hell of an espresso martini. Head to DeLunaCoffee.com today to find out more.
The finest football program in the state and rolling into 2023 with a Heisman contender. Stay connected with everything Florida State over at the ultimate Seminole sports source, Warchant.com. Expert insight from 5-star Irish O'Fell, the wit and perspective of FSU Encyclopedia Corey Clark, the latest on FSU recruiting with entrenched reporter Michael Langston, and the most active community of FSU fans anywhere. Warchant.com is part of the On3 network with a national team of reporters and resources that have created industry-leading consensus recruiting ratings, transfer portal rankings, and NIL analytics. Head over to Warchant.com to take advantage of this offer as FSU heads into a 2023 season with sky-high expectations.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This is all the benefits of being a Warchant subscriber, right? If you're watching right now, you can look along with me. You'll see Garnet and Gold, 10% off, special Warchant Days promos each month with exclusive offers for Warchant.com members, priority access and free gear at Warchant events. That's doing some things, right? Got to do it. Ask Warchant anything subscriber-only shows featuring the entire staff, a little Q&A with the entire staff, and coming soon, a new mobile app with improved functionality and less ads. That's really a good thing. Join the largest FSU fan community on the internet, everybody, at warchant.com. It's not close. Let's go. Get it on. Sign up today. get to some questions here and some kind souls with stickers. Man, we've got a lot of pillars here to get to.
We do.
Warchant Game Day continues now live from Hotel Indigo. Thanks to all of you that are here, and of course all those of you that are listening wherever you are, and those that are watching here on Warchant TV. I didn't get to it right away. Now I will. Z-Chan, thank you, brother. Appreciate you always. He writes that he wasn't going to make the game, but just finished Thanksgiving with the family, and we're rolling south. Let's go. Let's run this up and score 65. Let's go. Appreciate that. Z-Chan, thank you very much. Glad you're going to come out. Matt writes, will a box of tissues be a promo at the game to cope with Jordan's last game at Doe Campbell Stadium? A lot of people feel that way, Matt.
They do.
He's won over the fan base, and this fan base feels a debt of gratitude towards him. He's a good kid. He's worked really hard.
He personifies the transition.
He transformed his game and became a much better player than I think we thought he could be when we first saw him playing quarterback here. Florida man in Texas writes, how was Dolphin Stadium able to change 100% of the layout in 8 months, but we can't upgrade a third of the seats before the next season goes home? Oh, it's starting, Florida man in Texas.
How did the talk go today?
I haven't talked to Dad since.
Okay.
He got back when I was leaving to come here to do the broadcast. So my dad, just for you guys out there that are going through this, and a lot of you are, had his talk today with the booster representative about the seats. And they walked into the stadium together this afternoon at, I think, 1:30, 2 o'clock, something like that. So we shall see. I don't know how that went. I'm sure. I told my dad, well, I can't repeat what I told my dad, but I said, limber up, Dad. You're about to hear some.
Bohica.
You're about to hear some numbers that are going to make you feel, like you need to take a shower.
On a serious note, too, that this is the opportunity you gave me the opening. To everybody who is going to be affected by that's been on the alumni sideline for the last 10, 20 years, maybe more in a lot of instances, this is terrible. I'm sorry that this is the last that you're going to experience Doak in the way that you are. It's an impossible situation for the university.
Yeah.
In a way, you don't pick sides, but what you can say objectively is that it sucks.
You have great empathy.
It sucks.
There's somebody in my neighborhood, Tom, that I talked to before the season started. He and his dad and family have been going to games for 44 years in the same seats that they've had season tickets, and they can't afford to upgrade what they're being asked to upgrade to, and so they're having to give up their tickets. And what do you say to somebody like that other than I'm sorry? It stinks, and I hate it. I wish there was a better way. And we didn't make this decision. This is not what we're doing.
No,
it's what the university's doing. But it's awful.
And I don't think they would have had to make this drastic of a move if we weren't in this godforsaken conference. We'd have a couple more dollars. They need to generate the revenue. They've got to fix and
well,
shrink
it's also
the gap.
the direction that all stadiums are going.
It's true, yes.
There's no doubt. I mean, listen.
But I don't know that it would need to be this drastic and affect this many people.
It's a peel the Band-Aid off kind of mentality. Do you just do it all at once and piss people off for a year and a half? Or do you stretch it out over time and you're constantly going over there and there's something going on here and something going over there and something going on? I get why they had to do it. I feel bad for the people, but I also know they have to generate that revenue. And if you look around the country, and I've talked about this a lot, obviously we could have never guessed that TVs were going to become this incredible. Sometimes when you're watching a game on a big screen television, it looks better than when you're there live. You're like, this is amazing. I mean, you can get a 75-inch, 65-inch television. Middle-class families can afford that now. I mean, you don't have to make a lot of money to be able to get a big screen television. And so they knew that people were going to come to fewer games. The other part of that is the internet and fantasy sports and being able to watch games on your phone and all that other stuff. And this internet here is maybe the worst in the country. I've never been to a stadium, and I travel a lot, where there's worse Wi-Fi than Doe Campbell. I don't understand why they can't get it right.
I can tell you I covered road games in Gainesville. I know nobody wants to give credit to them.
I've been there, yes.
For both football and baseball, 12 years ago.
And it was
12 years ago.
It was better than it is here
and
now.
It was light years better.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Everywhere we go in the ACC, it drives me nuts. And so, I mean, when you're at a godforsaken place like Wake or Boston College, and you're like, well, good Lord, they've got a lot more amenities than we.
They give you good Wi-Fi, and then they have a bassist play between every down.
All right, here we go. We've got. I already read Florida man in Texas. Oh, no, the people are. Yeah, James B, buddy. I'm really missing my Seminole family this weekend. Great show as always, gentlemen. Thanks, James B. And also, by the way, I love that picture of you and your avatar there whenever that comes.
So happy.
He's just the happiest man of all time in that picture. It's
he
great.
Is, generally speaking, too.
He is. And we really appreciate your kindness, too. You didn't have to do that, but thank you. Noel of the people, feel it's worth mentioning that the Tatum Bethune midair hit did a lot to curb Jaden Daniels and made him fear the spear that night. He's not wrong about that. That hit, and that was a grown-ass man hit right there, and also perfectly legal.
Yes.
And remember, the ref wanted to call foul
did,
because he thought it's just so violent, but it was perfectly legal.
It was, and what Tatum said, the ref said...
told the kid, don't do that.
Yeah.
Didn't he say, no, I think he told Jaden, don't do that.
Well, he told Tatum about driving him into the ground. Be careful on that part of it. He's like, it's not a foul, but just know that there's a emphasis on calls.
Get the hell out of my face with that nonsense. Man jumped up in the air in the hole. What are we doing?
He wanted to get involved. Like, did you watch the first half of Louisville-Miami today?
Yeah.
ACC officials outdid themselves today, and that's saying something.
It's always. Noel fan 1893 writes, Doak already hyped. That's good to hear.
Good.
Any other chats that I got to get to that I missed? I don't think. I think I got to everybody. I want to make sure the people that gave us.
This is a good question, though.
Blue Collar Chef writes, hey, guys, I'm curious about something. Why isn't Peter Warwick's jersey retired yet? It is, isn't it? I think they made a mistake this week. When they gave yes, I think it is. I think. Does anybody back me up on that? I'm pretty sure it is. Here's what I'm saying.
Because they gave you the notes that he was not listed in the notes.
He was not listed in the notes. I believe that was a mistake. Florida State, I'm not trying to knock them. Somebody made a mistake in sports information. They sent out at the beginning of the week in the email when we were live on the air that they were retiring Jameis's number. And so
I think he's staying here too, by the way.
Oh, is he? Yeah. Most of the guys do. But
they do,
anyhow, the point is that they were doing that. And so they gave us the list of all the players who've been retired. And Peter Warwick's name was not on that list. And when I read that list,
2018.
Yeah, I knew they did.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense that they would. Peter Warwick's one of the greatest players in the history of Florida State football. Anyhow, when I read that list that Sports Information provided, immediately that night, of course, because the internet never misses anything, there were people on my Twitter feed yelling, "Hey, man, Peter Warwick's number's been retired for a few years now." And I thought that was accurate. And just Florida State forgot to put his name on there, which is not what you do. You got to remember Peter Warwick.
He also stays here. He was hanging out at Indigo earlier in the season.
He also came up here and said hello to us that night.
He did.
Yeah.
I got to tell him thank you for getting me out of a math test in 1999 because my teacher copped to the fact that he was hungover celebrating the game. And he said, "Kids, Mr. D had a really good night last night, so the test is postponed to Thursday." And we were like, "Yay!" So I told Peter Warwick, "Way to go, Peter Warwick!
Way to go, Mr. D or whatever his name."
Mr. De Blasi.
De Blasi, his kids pitched here.
And his kids pitched here. That's why.
His kids pitched here. Yeah, it all comes around, buddy. It all comes around.
It does.
So yes, Peter Warwick's number is retired, as it should be. And I don't want us to get all crazy with this number retiring stuff, by the way. Too many. I'm serious. Too many stadiums I go to where they've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry that ever was even decent. Retired up on the wall. I'm like, man, this isn't the Hall of Average. You got to be all-time great, and Jameis Winston is all-time great, so that's fine. But I'm saying let's just.
Well, it's also about importance to the program too. There's a sliding scale of like all-time great in the sport versus importance to the program. I think if you're a player that signifies transition, for example, in 10, 15 years, if Jordan Travis' name comes up, I think you got to retire the jersey.
Probably,
I think you do.
Probably. Let's see how the season ends.
I was just so if you see me scrolling through my phone for the last 5 minutes, I'm trying to find the Jaden Daniels rushing stats, and I've got him now against us. So to the point about Tatum Bethune's hit early.
Yeah.
15 carries that night. I know there's a couple sacks in there, but 64 yards. That's it. 4 yards a carry for that behemoth. 15 carries, he doesn't clear the century mark. Against anybody else, if he runs it 15 times this year, he's going well over 100.
He had one run against Florida that matched that, by the way. One in the first, his first long run of the game was surpassing 64 yards. So it didn't take him long, and he went on to rush for over 200 yards, obviously. So, I think it
he had a long of 85. Yeah.
He did whatever he wanted against Florida. No, that is a very good point. Noel of the people, you nailed it. You're right. And it's still one of the marquee things that we reference when we talk about Florida State's season and we look at the schedule. You know, I said going into today that in truth, Washington's played a better schedule than Florida State and has more marquee wins than Florida State does. But that game against LSU and the way they played against Jaden Daniels and shutting him down went an awful long way, I think, in obviously kind of shaping the narrative, the mindset of the way people view Florida State currently.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I think. And so, you know, that game, Jaden Daniels lit up everybody in the SEC's face so far. He didn't light us up.
No.
And it resonates with folks.
Yeah, if we did it a week or two ago, I think we'd be talked about a little bit differently. You know, but it's just that's the thing about college football that has not changed. is the more you do in September, the less they remember it down the stretch. But it counts. It counts just the same.
It does.
And it should count just the same. And the good thing is next year when we transition to 12 games or 12 teams in the playoff, I'm telling you, what a setting this would be. You know, you get a little bit, not misty-eyed, I wouldn't go that far, but for the last game of the season, because it's always a production here at Hotel Indigo does such a great job in that production game. The staff that we work with is fantastic, and they're second to none. But could you imagine the possibility of closing down for Senior Day and saying, we'll see you next month for a playoff game?
Well,
I mean, dude, that would be unbelievable.
You and I have talked a lot about how fun that's going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to get to see playoff games at Doak Campbell Stadium. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean,
at some point.
When it moves to 12 teams, Florida State will have.
I want to be a 5 seed. I'm targeting the 5 to the 8
So you can
next
host
year.
a playoff
5, 6,
game.
7, or 8. Yes, yes.
It will be awesome. And then think about the weather. Think about how great the weather will be when you go to that game and get to wear some of those sweatshirts that we have sitting in the closet and roll in there. Everybody will be
You get to bring a blanket. That's 20% off for Warchant.com members on Tuesday.
You did it. By the way, I went to Garnet and Gold today.
You did?
Picked up this cap right here.
I was wondering.
Yeah, it's a sweet cap, isn't it? Can you see it?
Is that mustard? That's a little like between gold and mustard. I like that.
It's a little bit old school, yeah. No, I needed a new cap. Everybody knows I'm bald, and so you got to have a lot of caps.
Smart for the sunset.
Yeah,
here,
and I knew we were going to be getting killed in the sun today because of the time of the kickoff. So I reached out to Tara, who does such a great job with Garnet and Gold. Her staff is fantastic. By the way, John Bentley, who pitched here, his son works at the Garnet and Gold. Ran into him.
Oh, yeah.
His name is Bryce, by the way. Shout out to Bryce Bentley.
Spelled the right way like yours?
No. Okay. But that's all right. And nonetheless, I was able to go in there and see all the cool stuff they have at Garnet and Gold. I know that this is a shameless promotion, but truthfully, it was awesome. They had a lot of really cool stuff in there.
So I had been missing this hat that I love dearly, and it's going to be out of commission in about a year. I'm wearing the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But I saw it on the table today. Finally, it was underneath a box, an empty box that we had just gotten from delivery. And I had my moment. It was like Denzel. I just,
you thought you'd lost it.
Well, it's the last game of the year. I'm like, I could wear the volleyball one that I have.
You know what's funny?
The white one that's really cool, but I wanted to wear this guy.
I have a hat that I never wear that I got at the College World Series in Omaha when Florida State was there the penultimate time. So it was like
2 LSUs ago?
Yeah, whatever that was. And I can remember they were selling it on the side of the road. You never see it. It's a fitted cap. It's white. It's all white.
Fitted, first of all.
And it just has the FS baseball logo right there. It is the most comfortable hat. This is 15 years ago. It's the most comfortable hat in the world. And because it's a white cap, I've sullied it. It's ruined all the times that I've like eaten something or drank something and put my hand on the hat. So it's got black smudges every which way, but I won't get rid of it. My wife is always like, why won't you get rid of this hat? You never even wear it. Because I love it. And I'm never getting rid of it. When I die, give that to somebody. Let them know it was my favorite hat. It's a fantastic hat, so I empathize with you.
Well, thank you. Did you have, in the 90s, way back when, was there a Florida State shirt that you wore for 93 or 99? Like, did you have a superstitious garb that you would put on? Wire to Wire would be the good example because they didn't lose that year. Like, did you wear something for the first game of the season? You said, oh, this is the one. I'm wearing this.
I had a Marvin Jones shirt back in the day, and it just said, you just try keeping up with the Joneses. And I loved that shirt on the back. It said, just try keeping up with the Joneses. And it was a picture of Marvin on the front holding just his helmet, and it said Jones on the back of his jersey. It was,
that's cool.
It was a sweet shirt, and I had it forever. And the damn strings were falling off of it, and I wore it out. And if anybody's got one of those laying around, they want to sell me, I'll buy it from me because I love that shirt. It goes back
with the size of the Warchant audience. I think it's possible.
It's possible.
I put on the
boards
boards
extra one
earlier this year that the hat that my dad got taken in, it was miscommunication from family. It had the spear through it, the gator through the spear.
Yeah.
It was like a take on Izod, that looking gator. And
right.
And had the 2 X's for the eyes, like it's dead. Anyway, my uncle, who's a Gator fan, thought it was a gag gift for him and not my father's, and so he took it, and it pissed off the family. Like they're like, hey, and my dad was too kind to say anything about it. Well, in 2 minutes on the boards, we're like, this is the hat. I'm like, oh, well,
so you got it.
Yeah.
We got to use our place in the media to our advantage. It's an awful thing to do, but we could if you're looking for a hat or a shirt that way. By the way, again, guys, you can tell it's North Alabama. I don't know what else to tell you, but I didn't mention that. Do we see a ton of LHS? Well, Deuce Spann, is he back healthy?
Man, I hope so. Now he returned one kick last week, right?
I believe that's correct.
The opening, but I don't know that he came back out afterwards.
Yeah,
It is uncanny how banged up this receiver room has been this year.
People don't realize. I mean, I've talked about this before. Keon Coleman has been playing through a lot. He's not as explosive as he was earlier in the season because of injury. Now, I think he's close to being all the way back, but he was not 100% last week. You could tell that.
Yeah.
And I think it's fairly obvious that even Johnny looks a little rusty. They just don't have a completely healthy offense right now, not on the offensive line, not at wide receiver. I talked about Jaheim Bell at tight end. He's been banged up as well. Your backups at wide receiver have been hurt. I mean, when you don't have – think about how good and how much playing time those backup young receivers would have gotten these last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Hakeem Williams would have been, trending big time because he looks so athletic, so strong. He's so fit right now. He got himself right where he needed to be, and then he got hurt.
To return to a point from the first hour of the program with, Robert Scott and some of the injuries that we dealt with on the offensive line, when he came in camp and we were surprised that, given the way camp started, we were surprised that he was going to be in practice at all before LSU. I think we can now talk about that openly.
Yeah.
Because he was not a part of any drills that meant anything contact-wise for the first 2 to 2.5 weeks of camp. Then he gets acclimated and he goes in. And we thought things were going okay with Bless Harris at left tackle, and Byers sometimes would shade over there, and Darius would play there, and they're trying to figure out who their best tackles are. Then Robert comes in, and you're like, oh, well, that's a lot better. Everything looks a whole lot easier when Robert is in.
Yeah.
And he's hardly been in this season. Bless Harris has been hurt a lot again this year. What a tough 2 years for that young man. He gets
and he's your second best offensive lineman when he's healthy. Yeah,
exactly. And last year was Duquesne, and that's it. Thanks for playing. So it's been a tough road for him here at Florida State.
Jerseys are your classic jerseys.
There you
for the
go.
game.
Garnet on garnet with the pants. So they're going.
Oh, they're
garnet
garnet on
pants.
garnet. Okay.
That's better than going like something crazy like the black uniforms.
Yeah,
you want to get the photos and the good uniforms with your family. So that makes sense to me. But Darius has been hurt a lot. Maurice is a warrior. I think in terms of the guys playing through the most on this team, it's not even close. Maurice Smith is playing through the most discomfort. I don't think there's a close second. So when you're arguing that this offense is a little bit less than what we wanted to see, when you do pull back and consider that the offensive line is as banged up as it is, you went to Pitt and you didn't bring any of your top 5 receivers, in terms of being able to be 100% healthy. Some of them were on pitch counts. Jaheim Bell's been hurt. Jordan himself has been hampered a bunch by injury all season long.
Yep.
Like, that's the number one defense that I would immediately say if people criticize the offense this year is, well, he doesn't know who he has week to week, Mike Norvell.
You and I talked about the fact that I felt like Jordan got hurt maybe second game of the year.
Yeah.
And has played a lot through.
He might have gotten hurt against LSU.
Yeah, there's been a couple of moments where you kind of see it's revealed a little bit. The thing is, I care, but I don't want to sound callous. I'm not as concerned about those injuries if they're things that can improve before we get to the playoffs.
Correct, yeah.
If you can rest guys today, and then obviously you got to take care of business against Florida. I mean, you'd love for that to be a blowout, but I don't know. It's a rivalry game on the road at night, and they're probably going to be fighting for bowl eligibility, so we'll see. But then you have the ACC championship game. Now, if you win those games, you get weeks off before you play in the college football playoff. That would be huge. Resting guys today would be huge. Getting a big lead against Florida and being able to pull some guys in the fourth quarter, it doesn't seem like that's something you could expect to happen, but it might. Florida's defense has been bad.
That's true.
You could be up 4 scores in the second half and start resting guys.
Speak it into being.
I hope so. So it's kind of, you just need to get Keon back to 100%, Johnny back to 100%, Jordan to 100%, and a couple of these linemen, Bless Harris for sure, and Maurice has to play. You don't have another center option other than Darius Washington, but if he has to play center, then you're screwed if anybody else gets hurt on that offensive line because he's their replacement as well.
Yeah, Jordan has shown some signs in the last few weeks that the deep ball accuracy is coming around. There's one to Ja'Kai Delegas at Pitt that's unbelievable.
It's a perfect throw, yeah.
There's 2 against Wake Forest down the field. One's over the middle to Morlock, and another one to Jaheim Bell down the sidelines. The fade ball to Keon was perfect last week, and there's some other ones that weren't completed that he put and dropped in the bucket. So I have a hard time conceding the fact that if he is 100% healthy, he somehow got worse with deep ball accuracy. It was the one thing we knew, especially outside the numbers he could do.
Right.
So, yeah, to your point, if he can get back up to speed and completely healthy, I think he's on the way back. You're seeing the throws come to life a little bit, but that does change the dynamic about what we can be as an offense. And then if you can get other guys rest along the way, like I keep talking about Maurice, I'd be stunned if he starts today. He's not being honored before the game.
No, there's no reason. You could start Stickle today. There's no, and that's not a knock on Stickle. Just honestly, let him play. He's healthy. He's serviceable, and you get your guy ready to go for Florida. We'll give you an update on the scoreboards here as we're rounding down the show. And before we wrap, Arizona still leads Utah. They're down in the fourth quarter. That is 28-10. 24-10, Georgia leading Tennessee. That game is at halftime. Illinois at halftime leads Iowa 10-9 in that football game. Wake Forest, Notre Dame. Notre Dame leads Wake 17-7. No bowl this year for Wake. If they lose this game, that is it. That is all. Clemson and North Carolina are tied 7-7. That game is on the verge of halftime. Ohio State leads Minnesota 13-0 in the second quarter. And the game I thought would get ugly is getting ugly. Oregon leads Arizona State 35-0 in the second quarter. And look at Houston putting it on Oklahoma State. Of course, 21-9. That game is in the second quarter. We shall see. I already gave you the finals from earlier today. That is your top 25 look, obviously.
What do you know, though? It's hard to score points in Clemson and Death Valley. The top 3 pick in the draft is having a hell of a time today. 7 points in the first half.
Yeah, that is. By the way, the Virginia-Duke game is 24-10. Virginia leading Duke. Yeah, I had a sneaky feeling about that game.
They've been playing kind of okay.
They've been kind of fighting, haven't they, down the stretch? Yeah, I think they like their coach. And that's about all of the noteworthy scores. Oh, NC State does lead Virginia Tech 21-7 halftime. I took NC State. It's a good pick. Let's hope that continues. I like that defense. Let's see if they do that.
Oh, UCLA, USC.
Is that going on right now?
That wasn't a top 25 game.
No,
you see, despite all the preseason hype for USC, that's not in the top 25 list.
Yeah, not. They're 7-4, 5-3 in the conference. They're also trailing UCLA late in the second quarter, 14-7. So that is the look there.
Lincoln Riley's going to win it all. Nope.
No. Well, he's got to get a defense at some point, and we'll see. So we'll take one final break, come back, I guess give a score prediction and
sure,
wrap it
why
up.
not?
Yeah, might as well. I mean, throw it out there. What the hell?
Pro's pro.
Final Warchant game day of the year, at least here at Doe Campbell Stadium. We're back for more in just a minute.
Our head coach has a taste for the finer things in life. Personally, I like to picture him in front of a fireplace, clad in a garnet and gold velvet robe, with a glass of Lagavulin 16 and a Cuban cigar. Rumor has it, Coach has a brand new Bengal tiger rug and a photo of Brian Kelly on his mantle. Now, while Coach has high-powered offensive weapons at his disposal, FSU fans need only one thing to start their game day. That's DeLuna Coffee's Blue Angels Blend. Talk about high-powered. This jet fuel in a cup will have you feeling like you can take down a 500-pound tiger yourself. 2 cups will have you wanting to boost an F-18 for the pregame flyover. Our advice, though, leave the hunt to the professionals. It doesn't mean that you still can't enjoy the finer things in life, just like Coach Mike. Trust me when I tell you, DeLuna Coffee makes for one hell of an espresso martini. Head to DeLunaCoffee.com today to find out more.
The finest football program in the state and rolling into 2023 with a Heisman contender. Stay connected with everything Florida State over at the ultimate Seminole sports source, Warchant.com. Expert insight from 5-star Irish O'Fell, the wit and perspective of FSU encyclopedia Corey Clark, the latest on FSU recruiting with entrenched reporter Michael Langston, and the most active community of FSU fans anywhere. Warchant.com is part of the On3 network with a national team of reporters and resources that have created industry-leading consensus recruiting ratings, transfer portal rankings, and NIL analytics. Head over to Warchant.com to take advantage of this offer as FSU heads into a 2023 season with sky-high expectations.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
This is all the benefits of being a Warchant subscriber, right? If you're watching right now, you can look along with me. You'll see Garnet and Gold, 10% off, special Warchant Days promos each month with exclusive offers for Warchant.com members, priority access and free gear at Warchant events. That's doing some things, right? Got to do it. Ask Warchant anything subscriber-only shows featuring the entire staff, a little Q&A with the entire staff, and coming soon, a new mobile app with improved functionality and less ads. That's really a good thing. Join the largest FSU fan community on the internet, everybody, at warchant.com. It's not close. Let's go. Get it on. Sign up today.
Welcome back to Warchant Game Day from the deck of Hotel Indigo.
Well, I'm mailing it in now, guys. We're done. It is the final one of the year, and so we should have to give a score prediction. I hate giving score predictions for an FCS opponent. It's hardly fair, but we'll do it. Okay. Do you think, even with the third and fourth and walk-ons and everybody else, they keep scoring? Because I kind of do.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to do this. Pick a number between 52 and 69. Let's see what the phone says.
What did you get?
60. All right.
So you're going to go with 60.
Noles will score 60.
All right.
All right. Pick a number between 6 and 13. All right.
Yeah.
8. Interesting.
60 to 8.
60 to 8.
You know how that happens? North Alabama scores first, sends a message, goes for 2.
That's right.
It's the last time they score. The next 60 are run off by the Noles. That is hilarious. Yes, 60 to 8.
60 to 8. Here we go.
I think when I was asked about it earlier in the week, I think I said 51 to 10.
Okay.
And it's an FCS game. They could score 90 if they wanted, probably. I just don't know how Mike's going to play it. I think, though, when you put your backups in, you owe it to them to let them play. And if you're a kid who never gets in, you're a third stringer or a walk-on, and you're a receiver, man, throw the ball. I mean, you want an opportunity to play the game. So I think he pulls his starters very early. They get the send-off we talked about. And then when you get to that third string and even beyond that, you just play the game. And if they score a bunch of points, they score a bunch of points.
Yeah, I think, just covering a lot of these games, one of which in, I think, 13, it might have been 2012, they ran the clock. You remember that?
Oh, they ran
the clock.
One of them, they ran the clock in the second half.
I don't know if that's legal, but they did it.
Yeah, they got in trouble for that, I think. I don't think you can do that.
There were 2 weather delays.
They were like, we're not going to be here till 2 in the morning. Just run the clock. Yeah. Now, this isn't like when you watch in high school, they do it, and sometimes mercifully so. I mean, my son's team beat somebody this year 60-0, and they had to run the clock. But he was also on the wrong end of an ass kicking, and they had to run the clock. So I've seen both sides of it where I'm like, run that clock.
It's like, last half inning in Little League, it's that kind of thing. Like,
this is
your last half inning. Sorry, guys,
it's
7:15.
And you're down 25-0. Let's get it going.
Yeah, exactly. The umpire's calling strikes over your head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Having covered a lot of these things, typically the opposing team throws their backups in too because they want those kids to have an
experience.
Chance to play.
Yeah.
So.
And we didn't talk about that. It is really cool if you're a kid at North Alabama to be able to walk into that stadium tonight in this setting.
Yeah.
They're going to be overwhelmed, but it's got to be really, really cool for them. I mean,
unless you're an offensive lineman.
If you're on the line of scrimmage, you're not in love with this idea.
Yeah.
No, this is going to be tough. I mean, when you line up from across Farmer and you're 267 and you put your hands in the grass, you're thinking, this is not going to end well for me.
And Farmer will tell you, no, it will not.
No
it will not.
Before the cough fit happens, partner, it's been a great year. We'll do more broadcasts, obviously. As the season wears on, we'll have something in Charlotte, I'm sure. But love you, buddy. And thank you, Ben. And thanks to all of our friends here at Hotel Indigo.
They've
thanks
been
to all of you.
fantastic.
They have been.
Yeah.
Until next time, go Noles, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.